All right, guys. So on this episode, we're not going to have a log. We're just going to jump right to it. And as we see on the first scene, the name of this episode is Sea Change. What we see immediately is the Weiler, the shuttlecraft you guys have put so much mileage on. She is flying towards Akamar 5, a dusty planet, which we heard from Sophanth last time is not very hospitable. There's not much atmosphere at all. It's mostly a red ball of dust. And as we move to our first scene, Tuzon, you step onto the bridge of the Weiler, and as so many times, you see Grekin at the helm. He's flying the ship. He's actually playing some music, and in the corner is an unusual figure that you may have noticed in the hallways before, but it's the first time you've really come in contact with him, Mr. Zyvor. ELH, if you could give us a little bit of info about Zyvor, please.
Sure. So Zyvor is actually one of the extremely rare Tholian exchange officers that is present within Starfleet. It's one of those things where the Tholian Empire, they are xenophobic and whatnot, but every once in a while, you get a rare egg that wants to be an ambassador or wants to try out Starfleet. So Ensign Zyvor is one of those rare Tholians. Their crystalline color is red. It matches their suit, which is kind of odd because Ivor is actually in the sciences. But they just sort of turn from the console and say, uh, it's very odd, Captain. The planet is very strange that we're headed to."
How so, Ensign?
Well, I was hoping I could do a reason science and then flavor, but
I'm sorry, I was
should I make
laughing.
something up, GM Josh, or
I
should
was
I
laughing.
actually do a
I was
reason
laughing too
science?
much. What are you trying to do here?
I just want to get a general feel for the place we're going.
Okay. Yeah. Do reason science. I already gave you one momentum for the accent. Let's do reason science difficulty 0, and of course the Weiler can assist with sensor science.
Excellent. And I have sensor operations as a focus.
Yes.
Let's hit that button. All right, starting off somewhat strong. We have one success. What do I learn?
Let's see. I'll roll for the Weiler really quick. You said it was sensor science for them?
Yes, sensor science.
Okay. Shooting at a solid 9.
Hey.
Another 2.
All right, so the planet is very much like Sophan told us last time. It's on the edge of the habitable band of the system. The gravity is a little higher than Earth normal, so when you walk on it, you're gonna feel it. Everyone except Zyvor, coincidentally. The surface is cold, it's dry, there's really not much atmosphere. So when you walk on this planet, you probably want at least a breath mask, and it's very possible most people are doing that. You don't necessarily need an EV suit unless the planet gets hit with solar wind, which it does frequently, in which case, yeah, you absolutely want to either have be in shelter or be wearing a suit because you'll get hit with a significant burst of radiation. But what you're picking up is there is really only one habitation on the planet and nothing else from what you can tell.
Okay. So Zyvor continues on to say, well, sir, it appears that not only is it radiation-blasted hellhole, something I actually quite enjoy, but it's one of those things where I'm not exactly sure why they decided to set up here.
Well, something tells me they didn't have much of a choice.
Well, I would recommend either EV suit or perhaps some form of a breath mask.
What's the schedule for the solar radiation storms?
Can I get that for free, GM Josh?
I'll give you that for free. They're they're actually quite random, so you don't have much way of knowing. The good thing is on the planet, you would have about 10 minutes notice before it actually hits.
We would have about 10 minutes before solar wind hit, a warning period. So it would still probably be best to do EV suits. You would not want to get caught in the open.
Very true. All right, let's set up EV suits. I want to go send a communication off back to the Hope before heading down. I'll be in my ready room.
And Grekin says to you as you're turning to leave, Captain, I don't imagine you have an idea where you'd like to land.
Let's land about a half kilometer from the settlement in as best of an open area as you can find.
Okay. Seems open areas are easy to come by on this planet.
I turn and go through the door to what settles as the ready room.
And on the scene, what will be the ready room is just this area in the corner because I had not planned for this. I'll say on the Weiler Tuzon, your ready room is probably more of just like your quarters. You don't imagine have a separate room just for being ready, but your quarters are probably the best quarters on the Weiler, which would just entail a cot really, and then a chair and a desk. That's the best privacy you're probably going to get on the ship.
All right, I want to communicate specifically with TM.
Okay. So you send a transmission, and immediately TM responds. Edon, what's your status?
We're doing all right, getting ready to land, but I wanted to contact you because I know I can trust you. I have a favor to ask.
Okay, if you do me a favor too, but let's hear it. What's wrong?
I've been mulling over the information that Senator Lena gave us. I want you to do some covert digging. See if we can find anything on the Sovereign. I don't want us to plant the information yet, but if the information she gave us is true and has just been hiding away, then I'm a little bit more inclined to covertly plant information.
I don't think it'll be difficult to break into their system, but the challenge might be them noticing. While they're not nearly as advanced as Starfleet, it's possible somebody will notice we're poking around in their systems.
Well, that's why I'm tasking you. Who knows anything better than security systems than the chief of security?
Thanks, Edon. Flattery will get you everywhere. But unto my favor, everyone's forgotten about it, but there has to be a Klingon vessel in this system if those Klingons were able to beam off the planet. I especially don't like it under normal circumstances, but since we've heard so much about how capable these vessels are, I especially don't like you out on a shuttle, off on a planet by yourself.
I'll make sure I have a bodyguard.
You would be the perfect trophy for a Klingon that wanted to increase his status, capturing a Federation captain. Yeah, they'd love that.
I will make sure I have my phaser. I've been getting better. I still don't hit 100%, but I don't miss as much as I used to.
And I couldn't help but realize when I was reading your past reports, the last time you were on this ship approaching a desert planet, you sort of crashed.
Details. It'll be okay. I trust Grekin. He's managed to crash and uncrash multiple times.
I've got a meeting in a minute with Lieutenant Commander Sofanth, but, well, it's going to come up. Did you have any idea what we should do with Montgomery?
As of right now, I just want him to be off duty before he gets cleared. I want him to make sure pass all the tests in the book before we clear him for duty. But even then, I don't know what's going to happen because I don't know how the crew will react.
Well, our chief engineer has plenty to do on the Zukov, so yeah, I don't know when anyone will have time to give Monty attention. We'll just, yeah, hope Finley can do his job. It seems those two have a bit of a rapport, although I don't know how much I trust Finley myself.
Finley's an interesting character, but somebody who should be praised for their knowledge. Crazy, yes, but extremely knowledgeable.
Well, I guess I'm going to get to work seeing if I can break into this system.
All right. You have fun, and if it helps you, look and see if they have anything like the old Earth VPN systems. If you can bounce your signal off multiple points on the planet, it's a lot harder to track.
That's a good idea. If I could find that Klingon vessel, that would be a great idea.
Sounds like you have your hands full, and so do I.
And back on the bridge, Grekin turns to you, Zyvor. So, Mr. Zavor, do you have any better places for me to land here? I've got a little stretch of desert outside of this city. What do they call it? Misfortune. Well, that's not ominous.
Well, let me ask you this, Jim Josh. Would I be able to get a better sense of landing spots if I did a reason con or maybe an insight con?
Sure. Let's do a reason con for you. I like that. Difficulty 1.
All right. Would you still give me sensor operations as a focus?
Indeed, I would.
Excellent. I rolled 2 successes. I will take that momentum.
So
Go ahead.
you've interpreted that the spot that Grekin has picked is probably your best spot. What you have noticed is that I'd say that from your success, you've gleaned that this planet is turning so that it is not sunward anymore. So you're going to be sheltered more from stray radiation than you normally would.
Sort of a follow-up question. Does this mean that the planet has rotated in such a way that it's like the direct sunlight isn't hitting it correctly, or is this more just a night and day cycle?
It's more of a night and day cycle.
Okay. Then Zyvar reports, well, the landing zone that you've picked out should suffice. Though I might recommend a very steep entry angle. It will help prevent the solar wind from buffeting us.
I like this plan. And he plays around in his console and he starts playing Danger Zone. And he starts singing along.
Just when I thought I had escaped you, Grekin, we're back together again.
As at this point, I was going to bring on your character, Monty, your support guy. I don't see him on my list. What's his name again? Is he Waltz? There he is. So, Dr. Waltz, you've walked onto the bridge. You've got the alert, the Grekin sit-down alert saying that you guys were approaching the planet's surface, and you walk on to hear some loud music playing, and everyone's kind of fixated on what they're doing. But ahead on the view screen, you see the expansive desert of Akamar 5, and as you guys are swooping in, you see a small dot that continues to grow into calling it a city is really giving it too much credit, but you're moving in towards that location. You're saying something, Monty, you're muted.
Did we lose him?
We might have lost Monty. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. That's all right. Hopefully getting back soon. But we will take this time to actually transition to a conference room on the Hope. So you guys didn't tell me you wanted to do this, but I decided that we would have a meeting with Captain Bergen from the Zukov to discuss repairs, which are the next step here. And as the 4 of you have assembled, Bergen sits down. She, straightens her uniform. And Rayelix, you've also gotten the list of damages from the Zukov, which they are extensive. And TM also, he has a pad that he's working on, Sophanth. He's kind of distracted, but he's also taken his place at the table.
Mm-hmm. So, Sophanth starts the meeting by looking at her own pad, sighing, and saying, Mr. Rayelix, if I read your report correctly, you are projecting that the Zukov is going to need not only a full refit, but likely has damage to the superstructure that will require extensive rebuild in Stardock?
Uh, that we do, Commander. Out of character, if we ran, I guess, like, if we wanted to repair anything on the Zukov, what kind of supplies do we have at hand to repair breaches and such?
I think you have numerous supplies to repair just about anything. We're going to treat it just like a normal starship combat, where you can repair the problems, like the penalties for having the breaches, but you can't actually repair the breaches themselves unless they go into space dock.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, uh, with all due respect, Captain Bergen, your ship's essentially been beaten to hell and back, and it's gonna need quite a few repairs. We can maybe at least get some of your hull breaches patched up, would be frankly putting it lightly. And we can maybe try to get your communication systems back up, but there's not a whole lot we can do as a ship, sir.
Well, frankly, my first priority would be to get the warp drive active, or at least back up to 100%. We're currently only able to sustain warp 6. Anything more that you could give us would be significant. I think that's the first thing we should start on.
We can certainly
Mr.
do. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. So Font actually maybe catches you before you start speaking and says, Mr. TM, I was hoping for a tactical assessment. Do you think the Zukov is worth anything in the, shall we say, realm of warfare?
And he's quiet for a minute. He's looking at his pad. He's not paying attention.
I just do one of those very loud.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lieutenant Commander, you were saying?
I don't make it a habit of repeating myself, so consider this your one and only warning. But I was curious if you could tell me the tactical assessment of the Zukov. If Klingons drop on us, I want to know my tactical options.
Oh, sure. I'm working on a task for Edon, and he puts his pad down. Funnily enough, most of the Zukov's weapons are functional. She's just completely out of photon torpedoes.
Are their torpedo launchers still working? That they are just simply in need of the torpedoes to begin with?
That's correct. Now, she has other problems that will limit her tactical abilities, like her communications are damaged and other internal systems like life support are not functional on some decks, but otherwise, technically speaking, she could fight.
How many torpedoes do we have currently aboard the Hope?
You have a narrative number.
Mr. Team, I'd like you to transfer 3 photon warheads over to the Zukov. I'm hoping they won't be needed, but in the worst case scenario, the Zukov could at least fire a salvo.
Very good. That should be easy to do. Our systems should be compatible.
Oh, and whichever shuttle you send over that way, let's try not to run it into each other.
As
And
long as we keep Lieutenant Montgomery out of the CIC, we should be fine.
That'll be for another meeting, the issue of Monty. Right now, our attention should be on the Zukov. Apologies, I did not mean to make a segue there. Captain Bergen, I was curious. What do you think of our current situation, at least compared to, well, let me back up. How much of the current situation do you know of on the planet?
only what I've gotten through reports, and then of course conversing with Commander Tuzon. Sounds like a political mess.
Yes, and not that I'm questioning the captain, but I'm wondering if it would just be better to build the hospital in space. It seems like we are deliberately bending, if not breaking, the prime directive.
If you're asking my opinion, Commander, I think in this case, I don't quite understand why we are trying to negotiate with these people so much. It's in their own best interest to help us. I mean, there's fighting not very far from their doorstep, and it's not like we're asking them to build weapons.
Well, I can sort of understand their reasoning. I seem to recall reading something about how the Bajorans once allowed a Romulan hospital to be built on a moon, and it turned out that the Romulans were actually stockpiling weapons there.
Plus, if the people of Akamar know how to make biogenic weapons, if we build build a hospital on Akamar 3, we could be giving some of their people access to make whatever it is they might want.
Hmm.
Well, let's just say I'm glad it's your problem, not mine.
Very well. Does anyone have any other matters related to the Zukov while we have Captain Bergen here?
Tiam, he clears his throat. Well, there's the little matter of the Klingon vessel that's probably in the system.
Yes, I've read the reports on that. Are we sure it's just not a sensor ghost?
Well, we haven't been able to detect them, that's the whole problem, but Edon said that there were 3 Klingons on the planet that then beamed away, which means they beamed somewhere. Unless they've had some tremendous advancements in transporter technology, that means they were somewhere in the system at one point, and we didn't even get a sensor blip.
Well, I would simply say that based on what the Klingons have shown themselves to be capable of, it's really anyone's guess. And there is plenty of leftover debris and technology from the Dominion War. If I recall correctly, the Jem'Hadar could quite literally transport quite a ways away. They might not even be in system.
Where I'm going with that is I would appreciate if we could run at least yellow alert. We have, well, at this point, the Zukov is just a giant target.
I concur with Yellow Alert. Let's make it so.
Thank you, Commander. And Bergen says, it's the cloaking device that they're using now has been, we've tried everything. We've tried tachyon fields. We're never able to get any reading from their cloaking device. They never fired while cloak, but while the cloak was engaged, we were never able to detect them at all. So it's possible they could just be outside the window and we wouldn't know it.
Real quick, out of character, GM Josh. Is QSD a thing in your setting?
Not yet. There's probably some prototype ships that are experimenting with it, but it's not widely adopted yet.
Okay. Then Sophanth will sort of scratch her head and think for a moment and then say, I know that quantum slipstream is still in development for a very good reason, but part of the reason it's still in development is because we haven't quite nailed down the sensor technology that would be required for it. And the reason I bring this up is because you essentially have to use what is a chronoton sensor, something that can peer into the future for a few seconds. Is it possible we could use something like that to at least get enough of a warning that we could raise shields instead of being broadsided with with our pants down?
I think that's a great idea. You're certainly in a much better position than I am to know if that would work. That's much more your area of expertise.
Well, it seems like I've given myself a project to do while I sit here and command the vessel. Very well. Any other points of order? All right. Well, you all are dismissed.
And Bergen says to you, Royelix, she says, well, Commander, I guess I'll see you on the Zukov. And we can go
That
over
I
where you
will.
can get started.
Yep, I'll gather an engineering team and I'll be right over.
And then she turns to walk away. And then as you're leaving, Royelix, TM stops Sophanth and he says, Lieutenant Commander, also the captain said that we should relieve Monty of duty until further notice and keep an eye on him.
I sort of motioned for him to continue.
I would like to post a security guard with him at all times. He hasn't exhibited any other hostile behavior, but he didn't really exhibit any hostile behavior before he went sideways last time.
Yes, that's what worries me. Who is I hesitate to put it this way. Who is your beefiest security officer?
That's probably Mr. Danik.
Let's put him on Monty for the time being.
If anything, it'll give Danik some time to work on his conversation skills.
And then Sophanth just sort of waits to see if he says anything else. And if not, she goes to do a little bit of research into chronoton sensors.
And with that, we're going to transition back to the Weiler. So you guys have just landed back, or you've just landed onto Akamar 5 and the location that Mr. Zyvor pointed out. But yeah, you guys are very close to the settlement that has been labeled Misfortune by the inhabitants. But
I come
Grecken
out
just
on the
Grecken just
onto the
paged you,
bridge.
Commander. Yep.
Great landing, Grecken.
Well, anyone you can walk away from, I guess.
Yes. Let's not crash anymore.
I prefer to call it more aggressive landing than crashing.
Call it what you will. I have the bruises still, I swear, from the last time.
Mine were just emotional bruises.
All right, everyone, let's get into our environmental suits just for precaution in case we get a burst and go talk to our friends outside.
So I believe everyone said that they were going to wear an EV suit. Are you leaving anyone on board?
I'll give Grecken the option.
And Grecken, gets more comfortable in his chair once you've given him the option to stay. Obviously, that's what he'd prefer to do.
Knowing that, I gave him the option.
I will say 8 of 13, just based on what we know of. What's the name of this individual again?
Waltz? Let me give him a name.
Gunther.
No,
Oh,
Gunther, that's right.
The guy you're going for, yeah.
Yeah. Knowing the potential that Gunther might be a little dangerous, 8 will be bringing a Type 3 phaser with them.
Okay.
I have a Type 2.
It's a good thing to mention the crimes that were listed by the Sovereign are mostly theft and, destruction of property. Nothing about murder or anything like that. It's mostly whenever the Sovereign would say, we're going to do something, Gunther would make an act of showing that he was outside of the law of the Sovereign's command.
Right. But
It's like
just a
it's
safety measure in case he resists.
Yeah.
in general. We also don't know what kind of population is on the planet, so
Exactly.
Johan's just gonna look at the sensor readouts, and he's just gonna look at everyone else like, well, if it's an option, I'm staying here.
you mean you don't want to see how all of these people have survived in long-term radiation?
They don't survive long, and I already know the effects of radiation on most humanoid life.
But the Akamarians are something different. As far as I've been able to tell, this Gunther and his band out here has been here for quite some time.
Well, then they've done the Akamarians a favor and self-sterilized.
I don't know if I would go that far.
He just blinks at you.
If you're choosing to not go, I am fine with that. However, if we need a doctor, we're going to give you a call.
Looking forward to it.
All right. 8, you ready?
Oh, as ready as I'll ever be.
Zyvar, are you coming or do you want to stay behind?
Oh, I thought it would be prudent for me to come along.
Oh, I think so as well.
How good are you with weaponry, out of curiosity, Ensign Zyvor?
Last I checked, I was in the 95 percentile.
Ah, then would you like a Type 3 as well?
Yes, why not?
Oh, I love this Tholian.
I'm going to try to bring Zyvor in more. This is great. So as you guys depart the shuttle and step onto the surface of Akamar 5, the first thing is apparent is the change in gravity. So I would imagine on the ship, most of the time you guys have it set at Earth standard 1G. This is 1.3G, so just enough to where everything you feel more sluggish, like just taking a step, you feel like you're going off a hill even though you're not, like you're just walking on a flat surface. But if you step down from the Weiler, you see you're very close to misfortune. And as I said before, calling it a town is giving it lots of credit. Most of the structures here look like they're probably shipping containers or pieces of other ships or debris even from something that crashed, and they've constructed buildings out of them. You've noticed that most of the buildings don't have windows, or if they have windows, they've been covered by something else. But you don't see anyone walking around the town. You know, there are lights on, of course, but no one, there's no outside congregation of people.
I look around. Reminds me a lot of the old settlements on that Bajorans made after during the occupation.
Are we sure we're in the right place?
Well, unless they have cloaking technology rivaling the Klingons.
Which the answer to that is, yep, we're in the right place. I start walking towards the settlement. Let's go say hello.
All right.
And sort of the universal constant in all towns and civilizations, you see a bar, it looks like, or a place that looks like a gathering inn of some kind. It doesn't really have much in the way of name. It just has like a graphic of a drink on the outside. And you do hear some noises from outside of that location. It's the largest building. We'll say it's this one. Other than that, you have no idea what the other structures might even be for.
I just look to the other two. Best place to find somebody is in a bar.
I guess so.
Cyborg doesn't really say anything, but the head compartment sort of twitches a little bit, and he just sort of follows you wherever you go.
Like twitches in like a nod sort of way, or just like overall twitch?
More like a oh, that's what you meant kind of a thing.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So
And
we start walking and we go up to the bar.
as you guys step into that building, we are actually going to do a transition. I'm going to move you directly to the Zukov Bridge, I think. Right, we're going to put you there. So I'd say you followed Jane back onto her ship, and she walked you up to the bridge. And most of the lights in the ship are out, and you've taken a very roundabout path to get here. If you could take a turbolift directly from the transporter room, you would have gotten here in moments, but because of all the breaches, you had to bypass several decks, walk up a few other places, take a Jeffries tube here and there. It took you much longer to get to this bridge than it should have.
Yeah, we took the scenic route.
The damage of the ship could not be understated. There are areas that have been blocked off, even the bridge. There are consoles that are darkened and clearly inactive. And as you walk on, you can see that's just a skeleton crew on the bridge. Bergen looks around and she says, "Well, there it is."
Well, things a little bit more beat to hell than I even thought. And he'll look over to what I'm assuming is the only other officer on the bridge.
Yeah,
you.
I'm
What's
reusing
your
this
name?
token. I'm reusing this token, but the guy turns up and he says, Ensign Holloway, what you need?"
I've read a bit of the damage reports on board this ship, but is he in operations yellow, or what is he in?
Yeah, he's wearing yellow. As far as what his original job was, who could say? But everyone on this ship that is a senior officer has basically been promoted via attrition into their position. So what his original job was, who could say?
What do you do on this ship, Ensign?
Well, I used to be a security officer, but now I guess I'm operations today. Maybe helm tomorrow whenever we finally start flying this thing.
I see. What kind of supplies do you have, if any, to maybe even start to repair some of these breaches, or at the very least get your warp core a little bit more up to speed? I think I can handle that myself, but I just want to know what you have here. Obviously, you don't have any photon torpedoes, but
I mean, as far as the situation with our engines, you're gonna have to meet our chief engineer, Mr. Seagull. He's down in engineering.
ah, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
He says, I don't really know much about warp cores.
That's fine, Ensign. Are any of the consoles here on the bridge working?
Yeah, there are a few. I'll say that one's working and like that one's working. The one here is that's what is that usually? The helm. And this one was probably like a communications or coordination station that has just been turned into a catch-all for everything.
Gotcha. Well, Captain, with all due respect, if you don't name me up here, I'm going to run down and check on Mr. Seagull in engineering. Looks like we should probably focus on getting your warp core a little bit more up to speed, and then we'll work on getting more of this, kind of doing a hand wave to all of the consoles on the bridge, back up and running for you.
That sounds like a great idea, Commander, and I certainly don't have any authority for the staff of the Hope, but I did look on, well, the duty roster, and I noticed Mr. Montgomery is rated for starship repairs. Now, if you can bear with me, I know he's had quite of a episode lately, but there are many parts of this ship that are quite dangerous, and our emergency force fields are, well, I don't have much faith in them. Someone like Mr. Montgomery wouldn't have a problem being an android in the vacuum of space. I'm just saying he might be useful if you could spare him.
She's able to tell that Raleigh is very not wanting him anywhere near any other piece of Starfleet technology right now. But after a little bit of like almost too pregnant of a pause, he just kind of nods and is just like, I'll send a message over and see if they can spare him.
Thanks, Commander. It's just we have lots of dangerous areas, and dangerous for people like you and me, but not necessarily dangerous for him.
It's an understandable assumption to make, Captain. If you'll excuse me. And he'll take the scenic route down to engineering.
And as you walk to the door to go off the bridge, it does not open, and you have to spend a moment where you force it open, and then you work your way off the bridge. But we are going to jump actually to the conference room. So I'm taking everybody out, and just as you were getting ready to leave Sophanth, in walks Mr. Naval, and I have too many tokens. There we go. Says, if I may have a moment, Commander.
I have several moments. What do you need, Mr. Naval?
And he comes over and takes a seat. And he notices that the seat that you are occupying, I don't know how you would do that, but he notices that it's a little awkward.
Actually, I always imagined that she never actually sits in the conference room. She just sort of moves the chair out of the way and stands there.
That's great. Naval says, Commander, if you don't mind, I've been doing a little poking around. I read the logs from the Zukov, and I noticed that Captain Bergen mentioned on several occasions the almost supernatural quality of the Klingon cloaking device.
Yes, that is something that I'm going to be looking into during downtime. Do you have any thoughts on the matter?
Well, I myself, I know nothing about cloaking technology, but I do have a contact. Her name is Dr. Renix. Uh, excuse me, her name is not Dr. Renix. Her name is Dr. Marina. I got my names confused. Dr. Marina, she was one of the foremost cloaking technologists in the Romulan Empire before the fall. She worked on the Scimitar project, one of our most advanced cloaking technologies we've ever produced. After the fall of the Empire, I'd lost contact with her for a while, but I believe she is somewhere in the Sela system, here in this sector, in fact. She might be able to give us some kind of information. I find it highly unlikely that the Klingons were able to develop cloaking technology this sophisticated on their own. It's possible they're using stolen Romulan technology.
That or we have something akin to a temporal shenanigan, but yes, I think it would be prudent to reach out to this friend of yours. When would you expect a reply if one came?
Well, I don't have her specific location, so I could begin to ask if anyone knows. The problem with the Sela system is there is a large Romulan colony there of Romulan refugees, and they have, to put it lightly, have been having problems there. If she is on that colony, it may be difficult to get through.
Well, if you need any resources from me to get to this contact, please let me know. Figuring out this cloaking mystery will be for the benefit of everyone in this war.
I will do some more investigation, Commander, but frankly, I know we have a lot going on. But if we could take the Hope to the Sela system, I believe that would be our best chance to locating the Doctor quickly.
Out of character, how long would it take to get there?
I'd say in this sector it wouldn't take very long.
So like a day or two, something
Yeah,
close.
let me show you the map where he's talking about. That's where he's talking about. And you guys are in Akamari.
Yeah, I was gonna say that seems a little bit longer than a day's travel. Yeah. I'll add it to the list.
I'd say probably closer to a week if you pass through the nebula. Which, remember, the last time ships passed through the nebula, they disappeared.
Yep. So I'm just gonna make a little exclamation mark there so we remember to go to it eventually. All right. So Fonth goes on to say, it is a significant diversion, but I will bring it up to the captain when he returns.
Thank you, Commander. I believe it would go a long way, and for what it's worth, I believe the Hope could actually do a lot of good in the Sela system. Many of the Romulans there in the colony, well, it's more of a refugee colony, people that have managed to escape the Klingons. And, well, Starfleet's been so busy, there are a lot of people that could use some help.
I will keep that in mind. Is there anything else?
No, well, just a question. Is there anything I could do to help with Lieutenant Monty? Or Montgomery, I should say.
I think that depends on Monty at this point.
I hesitate to call us friends, but I believe I'd begun to create a rapport with him.
If you feel it prudent to visit him, I give you permission to do so.
Very well, I might check in and see how he's doing through all of this. I can only imagine what he's been through.
If you learn anything interesting, please let me know immediately.
And he says, well, thank you for your time, Commander.
As you are, Mr. Naval. And then Safanth will leave the room.
And I'll say, as you start to leave the conference room, Sofan, there's a chirp on your communicator.
I'm gonna be stuck in this room forever. Yes, this is Commander Sofonth. What can I do for you?
This is Lieutenant Commander Raw Yalix. Captain Bergen talked about how there are some elements of the ship that need to be repaired that are unsafe for, well, to put it in the most blunt of terms, more dangerous for organics. And she was wondering if,
If
since
Monty could come do the work for you, I
yes,
will
and
ask him. Yes.
I figured out and ask you since that's not really my call to make.
I will ask him, but I will make it very clear that this is a volunteer sort of affair. I'm not going to order him to do anything until we understand his situation a little bit more.
Of course. Thank you, Commander.
hmm And then she starts to leave again, and I'm sure gets interrupted.
Another chirp comes up again.
And before you make it to the door, Q appears. No. As you gallop away, Sophanth, where are you headed? Are you going to go straight to Monty?
No, I think I'm actually gonna go and do a little bit of sciencing, sort of to give our Romulan friend some time to talk to Monty before I do.
Okay. Let's move to that scene next then. So Montgomery, tell us, what have you been up to? You've been stuck in your quarters.
Well, after he got repaired from the interesting and fun damage the force fields did to him, he talked with Fenley for a little bit after getting repaired, and he visually looks a little bit different. He's decided to alter the skin pigment so it's more in line with that of a typical android, just because he feels that while Bruce had a good idea of trying to spare him some of the original, I don't want to say racism, but the outcast issue that Data would have experienced, by giving him a more of a human look, Monty just like, no, like this is what I am clearly. I might as well embrace it. And yeah, he's just been in his quarters. He replicated himself a little piano pad, and he knows Danek's outside, so he's just been playing music this whole entire time.
And without any announcement whatsoever, the door opens and Danik walks in. And your exchanges with Danik so far have just been, he's completely quiet, and when he walks in the room, he has a Phaser 3 rifle pointed at you. This is how he's always done it, so this is not new behavior. But he walks in, checks the room, keeps his Phaser on you, and he says, all clear. And in walks Mr. Naval. He says, thank you, Mr. Danik. I think I could take it from here. And then Danik walks out, and the door shuts.
Monty will stop playing and just look at Naval like, hello.
Hello, Lieutenant. I've been given permission by Lieutenant Commander Sofonth to check on your well-being. How are you holding up?
Structurally sound. And as for the positronic brain, ran multiple scenarios, stress testing, essentially. Seems to be holding. No degradation detected so far.
I've read the logs on the procedure that happened to you in the lab. How do you feel about losing so much of your past memories?
Unknown. It is difficult to describe a sensation of loss when you have lost it. I do not know how I feel. The one instance, though, that I am unable to completely identify and, well, give a definition to was when I first started losing control. I said I felt fear. I was scared. And for that moment, I felt emotion. But I cannot replicate it. The algorithm that is called Pinocchio cannot identify why I felt this. My only conclusion is that whatever part of lore still resided in me at that time was the version of able to have that feeling, that emotion. But now that it's gone, so is that possibility of emotion. There is a chance that I may be able to feel one day, or I have not had enough strong enough of emotion reaction to something yet.
So what do you think is next for you?
I would like to resume duties and continue working.
The problem I understand it is that you yourself, as the individual here before me, never attended Starfleet Academy, so therefore you never earned a commission. Of course, it does create quite a conundrum for the command staff. You're perfectly able to perform the duties, but you did not complete the steps that the rest of us had to go through. It's my understanding that that is one of the issues that is causing a problem.
As far as I'm aware, the memories I had of being at Starfleet Academy were the in between moments. My procedure, my understanding of tasks, and protocol have all simply just been uploaded to me. And I'm still able to perform my job just as I did before. I just don't have any reference point to the Academy anymore. It is perplexing.
It is a very unique situation, to be sure. While I am far, far from a scientist or computer programmer, is there anything that I can do to help?
My access to the computer have been completely revoked, and that is procedure in the event like this. All I'm doing now is awaiting a chance to atone, as it were.
Well, actually, I came prepared for that. And he, behind his back, he was holding something and he extends it out to you. And it's a book, actually.
You'll take it and look at it.
You immediately can tell, because Montgomery can tell this, it's a Romulan book, and it looks like it's not a reproduction. Like someone actually used a printing press of some kind to produce it, and it's all completely written in Romulan. But you can immediately translate it. And he says, this is one of the, well, as you may know, long ago my people were a part of the Vulcan people. We splintered, and a group of Romulans, which they were not Romulans at the time, began an exodus to find our place in the stars. Well, one of my ancestors, we believe, wrote this book, which is an account of his travels from Vulcan to the eventual planet of Romulus. I can't say it's a very exciting read, but I found it quite illuminating sometimes. I realized you could read it in moments, but I thought it might at least provide you some form of entertainment since you don't have computer access.
Then I will take my time to read it. And thank you.
My pleasure, Lieutenant. As I said, if there's anything I can do to make this time where you're unsure of your future, if I can make it easier on you, let me know.
I boarded the Hope, the original Hope, and I got to know individuals. I am worried now. I am worried that I am now an outcast. I would like to fix that.
While I'm not familiar with what happened with your programming, I am very familiar with being an outcast. As someone who attended Starfleet Academy older than most of the other cadets, and also an outcast as a Romulan, I faced my own share of distrust from my fellow officers in Starfleet. While I can't say to have achieved mastery over that situation, what I can share is, in my experience, the best way to repair a circumstance like this is through patience and time.
Thank you for your advice.
There are, as I've said before, there will be many souls that you encounter that will see you as an enemy, that will only remember what happened in engineering, and that is how they will judge you. It would be easy to live up to their expectations and treat them rudely and without, I would say, without nobility. The nobility that I know you're capable of. I believe in that case, the way you will progress with them is to, the humans have a phrase, take the high road. Not exactly where that high road leads, but I think if you show them that you are the better person, that eventually those that can change will change.
He'll nod slightly. I am relieved that I was able to fight the corruption long enough to at least warn you and others to get away from me.
And also, Lieutenant, consider the captain, Mr. Royalix, and Finley worked very hard to preserve your programming. They could have just deactivated you, but they did try to save you. That shows that you have some worth, at least in the eyes of your crewmates.
Then I look forward to the challenge of becoming their friend again, or at least a comrade.
Indeed. Well, I will resume my duties after I make my way past that gigantic wall that we've given a uniform to just outside your door.
He'll think for a second, like, oh, that's a joke against Danik.
Yes. And
He'll
then
just
he,
look at you for a second and not laugh.
and Naval kind of gives a sideways smile, like the joke was also difficult for him to make, but he turns in and then goes to leave. And the door, as the door opens, he was right. Danik was actually right outside the door, but he makes his way by and then the door closes.
Monty starts reading with one hand, and the other hand is playing a little solo piano tune.
And without going into too much detail, the book is sort of as Naval advertised it. It's pretty dry. It's more of a diary of one of his ancestors just talking about how they, the ship they were on, the challenges they overcame as they were actually traveling out to Romulus.
Nice. This is like a family heirloom.
But we are going to move to the bar on Misfortune. So as you guys walk in the bar, the landing party, you walk through sort of an outer door and then you walk into this inner door. And as you're walking through that small sort of outer space that moves into the bar itself, you're blasted with, some decontamination spray, if you will, as you walk in. It seems as though they're taking a measure of precaution here against radiation. But as you walk through, this structure, as I said before, it doesn't have any windows. The gravity is still very oppressive here. They don't have any sort of artificial gravity, so you're still feeling that 1.3 G. It's very darkly lit, although it does look kind of clean. Most of the inhabitants are Akamarians, although you do see a number of Nausicaans. You see a Denobulan off on the corner. Yeah, but it's actually very quiet here. There's not too much commotion. Most people are just content sitting at the bar at their tables, just having their drinks and their low conversations. But as the three of you walk in, everyone, the entire bar, stops and looks at you. And you immediately realize that you three stand out. 8 and Tuzon, because you're wearing these pristine Starfleet EV uniforms, while most everyone is wearing very rugged clothing with just breath masks, no radiation suits. And then Zyvor, of course, because you're a Tholian.
I just lean over to 8 and Zyvor. Nothing like stopping a party, is there?
Should I perhaps attempt a joke?
Maybe later. I don't think it's going to do anything here. I would love to hear it. I take off the helmet of the EV suit and walk up to the bar.
And when you take off your helmet, most everyone kind of resumes their normal flow. In the corner over here, you do hear a Nausicaan shouting to a Denobulan, but other than that, most everyone else is just heads down. But as you approach the bar, there's a very old, very ragged-looking Akamarian who's feeding drinks to everyone. He looks up at you. And Tuzon, you can immediately tell he has a lot of discoloring on his skin, obviously from receiving so much radiation not protected for a significant amount of time.
I take note of it and wave him over.
And he walks over to you. Ah, Starfleet. It's been a while since we had one of you.
And we like to stop by every now and then.
I don't suppose you have any latinum.
Possibly back at the ship. I didn't think about bringing any. I apologize. Not used to having to bring stuff like that.
And he points to your phaser at your belt. Well, that'll work just as good as latinum.
I can't quite give that up.
Well, I'm only here for paying customers. This isn't a charity.
Fair enough.
Just one moment, Captain. Considering that that this planet was probably not accustomed to Starfleet regulations, I came prepared. And 8 will sort of pull off the the glove
The
on,
suit.
yeah, where her Borg arm is. And she has opens the small compartment in her arm. She has a very small amount of latinum on her.
I just look to 8. You never do cease to amaze me.
Well, I may have only been freed from the coalition a few years prior, but I've watched some old Earth movies before then, and she'll slide a piece of latinum over to the bartender.
And he takes the bar of latinum and does the thing where he puts it in his mouth and bites it to make sure that it's the right consistency he's expecting. And he says, good stock. What do you have?
What do you got?
8 will just simply say give me your hardest shot.
And he raises an eyebrow. Might be a little hardier than you're used to on your fancy starship.
Gotta try new things every now and then.
And he pulls out a glass and this very cloudy liquid that he pours in. And as soon as he pours it in the glass, there's a hiss. And the liquid that's in this glass is not very translucent at all. It looks very muddy. And he slides it towards you.
I just look at him. Have any Romulan ale?
He laughs. Huh. You know where you are, boy. We can't afford that stuff here.
I figured I'd give it a shot. What would you suggest?
And he says, well, that's the best we got. And he points to the glass that he passed to 8.
Have anything from Bajor?
Huh. No, we don't have anything for Bajor.
Well, shoot. Then, don't worry about me. Zyvor, do you want anything? I guess that's a no.
Sorry, I had a plane flying overhead.
Oh.
No, I think the beverages here are not something I could consume.
You have a good point. But aside from the drinks, we did come here to see if we could find somebody.
Well, if you got more of that latinum.
Always looking for payment for information. And she'll slide another bar over.
And he looks at it again. Okay, my friends, who are you looking for?
Man that goes by the name of Gunther.
And as soon as you say the word Gunther, again, everyone stops and turns towards you. And
I
the
just look around.
The bartender looks around nervously. What do you want Gunther for?
To talk.
And one of the Nausicaans walks up towards you, Tuzon. And he says, "We have no place for Starfleet here. You've come for Gunther. You've come for trouble."
I didn't come for trouble. I just simply came to talk. Last I checked, talking's something that anybody can do.
And he looks you up and down. And he says, actually, more of his friends move in as he says this. More Nausicaans start to kind of stand up from their tables and move towards you. And he says, "Maybe you give us that latinum you carry. Maybe you give us that phaser and we let you go."
Well, gentlemen, I think you are all very well aware that I cannot give you the phaser.
And you notice the bartender is kind of ducked and slinked away.
I just look, now, gents, I don't want any trouble. I simply came to talk.
Tuzon, give me a command presence difficulty of 3, please.
Oh boy.
Do you have a diffuse
Diplomacy?
the... That would definitely apply. I was going to ask, do you have diffuse the tension?
I do not have diffused the tension, but I do have cautious command, so I am going to take a momentum for a third die.
I'd almost say take 2.
Okay. Presence command, 4 dice with a focus.
Oh boy.
Well,
Oh
we can give
boy.
her one of those complications.
Reroll the 1. Oh wait, my complication was at 2. Oh, it doesn't matter. They're both 20s.
Yeah, they're both 20s.
That's...
Oh.
could
I
you
only
roll
touched
one?
it once. I
What's the...
only touched it once.
Let's take the first one. That's a better roll for you anyway. But you still have one complication.
I'll take the complication.
Okay. As you say that, the one that had been, let's say the other two that had, come up to join the leader, they got to back away. Not too interested. The one that was the ringleader had been talking. He leans forward and pushes you. Not a shove that would normally have been much of an issue for you, but with the gravity, you are kind of, you don't have your normal balance, I would say, and you do stumble backwards a good bit.
I stumble back and then stand up, straight up. You're going to have to do a lot more than that to push me down. Now, like I said, we just came here to talk to Gunther. Nothing more.
And out of the corner comes that Denobulon who I'd mentioned before. He walks up to the bar and he turns to the Nausicaans and he says, "Oh, no, friends. They're not here to arrest Gunther. They're not the police. They're just misguided Starfleet officers." And he looks to you, who didn't realize that they were talking about a local folk hero. They're not here to arrest anybody, right?
Right.
GM.
Yeah.
Because I think it'd be funny. Can I give you the 2 momentum there for Johan to beam on in?
To beam in, sure.
Yeah. Just to do with the corner of here. Just taps his comm badge. "Thank you, Grecken. This is the bar." He just looks to the bartender like, blood wine?
Johan, let's see how stealthily you've done this, or if you've drawn anyone's attention. Can you give me...
He's not trying to hide.
Okay, so just very publicly, just beaming right in.
Yeah, he wants some blood wine.
I'm gonna spend 2 threat here to create a complication. And the complication is that they might have been backing down, but Johan beaming right in their midst really set off some of the Nausicaans. And actually, let's move into some structured combat here, I think.
Oh god.
And actually, I think this Nausicaa's going to go first, and he's going to attack you with a dagger, Waltz. So as you've materialized next to him, he thinks that there is something going on, which sort of plays into his original idea that Starfleet was showing up to try to arrest someone. So yeah, he does lunge at you with a dagger. If you can do an opposed security daring for me, please.
Yeah, an old man. Do.
I've already got 2 successes.
Okay. I will give you 1 threat for an extra dice. This would be an activation frame, would it not?
Yeah.
Yes. So, you know what? Because I think it'd be funny, mean right hook.
Okay.
Let's see what happens. Yeah. Why did that not take
Control
3?
command. For some
Yeah, it's got to
reason.
be security.
What the?
Security daring.
Yeah, no, I on my sheet it's fitness security. Oh, sorry,
Oh,
daring security.
Daring security, yeah.
I mean,
But-
even then, he rolled a 9 and a 4, which isn't going to get him enough successes.
Well, he
it's
had a
also-
third die too.
Ah,
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It's gonna close up the sheet and reopen it because yeah, like it didn't even roll any of the things I had selected. Daring security. So I'll just roll another dice to see what happens.
Yeah, you just
on
need
the
1
third
success,
dice.
really.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not. Can you look at my
Huh.
sheet?
Yeah.
Because it says control command again for some reason.
So I don't know what's okay.
It's
Yeah, because daring and security is highlighted.
I mean, you do have a success with an 11, so that would be a 3rd success.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yay, broken sheets again.
Yeah, I don't know. But what you'll need to do is roll your dice because you did defeat him. You only got 2 successes. So you know that's your security plus 1 challenge dice, and if you have mean right
Mean
hook,
right
that means
hook.
it's vicious.
Ooh.
Okay. That's a really good roll.
Basically, what I'd like to see for the vicious, he just re-guides his blade back into him. He was like nope. Like he knew where to grab on the arm and where to pull and where to pivot, and just to get him back in.
Is that going to be a
Meanwhile, he's
lethal
still-
a lethal attack or non-lethal?
That's a threat I give you if it's lethal.
Yep.
It's Johan. It's lethal.
Okay.
Oh God, no.
I mean, just so you know, you are escalating this conflict quite a bit by making a lethal attack on this guy.
Okay, it sounds like the GM doesn't want me to make it lethal. So
No,
not
no, I
lethal,
mean you
then.
can. You can. I just thought I should let you know what's happening here.
No, I'm taking that as a warning, everyone.
as you should.
mhm.
He gave me 2 outs, so
Just guide it into his shoulder blade. It's fine.
I do
Yeah,
have.
okay.
Okay, I'll give you the threat back then. I just wanted you to know I do have 7 threat, and I do still have 2 other people on the board here. I could do a lot of damage with that.
yeah. So he just guides into the into a non-critical spot, but it's enough to make the guy think.
Why don't we do it like this? You knock his dagger aside, and with your other hand, Johan, you come up and hit him in the bottom of the jaw, and he falls backward over a chair, and he collapses.
Just looks back to the bartender. Blood wine.
Don't, no damage, please. No damage, please.
No damage.
Take it outside.
The blood wine.
And that leaves it to you guys.
I think Tucson just looks down the bar like completely befuddled. Like,
120-year-old man just kicking someone's ass.
yeah.
A Nausicaan.
Just going, what? What?
Let 8 of 13 will sort of act. It's like, gentlemen, let's be a little more civil. And this is probably going to be close to the last of her latinum because there's only so much latinum you can store in an arm. She'll pull out a couple more things of laudanum and toss them to the other two Nausicaans that are still, conscious.
Why don't you give me a command presence?
Oh no.
I'm gonna make it a difficulty 4.
Oh no.
You're welcome.
It's so high because you guys you're fighting, so you're trying to stop a Nausicaan from doing the thing that a Nausicaan wants to do.
Can I assist with advisor?
Hold on.
If you tell me how you will assist, then yes.
I'll just stand up next to 8. Again, gentlemen, we don't want any problems here. We just want to talk.
Command presence, yeah, that's good.
Oh man. I'm shooting for a 9 with this, y'all.
I have an advisor.
Yeah, so you can at least give me a reroll. I will. Huh.
Let me
I
make
wanna
sure to
pop-
listen to the mix real quick. What is your assist? What are you rolling at, Tuzan, for your assist?
It's presence command. I'm rolling a 14 with
Okay.
diplomacy or coordinated effort as a focus.
Okay, because there is the option of letting Zyvor help out with like a presence security, but that would definitely be more of a intimidation than a diplomacy.
And that could just escalate the fight even more.
Mhm.
And I was gonna say I chose command presence for you 8 because you were going war diplomacy. You would have
Yeah.
a different role if you went like intimidation style. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, that's fair.
This is an activation
Yeah.
floor, so you could.
Oh, I know. I had it planned. I already gave her activation of of giving her the hunger down talent, which we might need soon. Maybe determination for the value of help everyone, even those you don't know.
That's fair.
And I'll give you 2 threat for a 3rd die. I don't have a focus here. Why do I have that clicked as yes?
I
Okay.
remember the sheets being weird. I'm doing the /talk to myself command, and I'm getting
Yeah.
nothing but command control nonstop.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
you
let's
got
see.
presence.
Well,
Yeah.
you got the 4, and
So that's 4 successes, and
a reroll.
yeah.
I got nothing, but I let you reroll.
Well, yeah, but I'm not going to take the chances of that becoming a complication, so let's just leave that as is.
Huh.
Fair enough.
GM, you might need to give me a new sheet for Johan. I think that sheet's bugged.
Ooh, okay. So what you say immediately falls on their ears, and the two Nausicaans they kind of look to each other, and they look down at Renix and this guy, who's actually the ringleader. He looks at the doctor and he says, "Don't forget, I'm coming for my money." And the two of them file out the door. And they leave their friend who's collapsed on the side.
I just looked at 8. Remind me, just not getting into an argument with a Nausicaan.
Will do. Now if you excuse me. And after that tense encounter, she's just gonna down that shot really quick.
It doesn't cause you any damage or anything like that, but it's revolting. It tastes like some kind of engine lubricant.
Oh. Whew. That's some interesting stuff.
The bartender said that it was the strongest stuff they had. He didn't necessarily say it was a favorite.
Fair enough.
Waltz just slaps the table. Blood wine.
And the bartender looks up and he says, "We don't have any blood wine. What do you think this is?"
Well, it's a shanty hole in the ground.
Give him the same thing I had.
All right. He mixes you the concoction. Johan, again, when he pours it, there's a hiss, and he passes you the cup.
Ooh, can I determine what that hiss is?
Yeah, you could do a roll if you wanted to tell. It's
Yeah.
Johan's human, right? Let's do maybe medicine insight difficulty 1. Because you guys have no momentum. Let's see if we can change that.
Let's see. Cocktail chemistry as a focus.
Does he really have that?
Yeah, he does.
Okay, sure. If you went that specific, yes, you may definitely use that focus.
All right, let's see if that's gonna work.
I should point out that was a focus before his activation today.
Let's make it a difficulty 0 then. I feel like if you went that specific and this is a circumstance where you could use it, you deserve a little something.
Okay. Let's see. Come on. Yeah, it's still doing that, but that would be
7 and a
11.
4, so I'm thinking maybe crit there with the 4.
Yep.
So 3 successes.
I'm going to transfer to the new sheet now.
Cool. It's 3 momentum. Yeah, and the smell does betray. It is most likely an engine lubricant, and he may have figured out a way to spice it up. It is probably not something as a human that you should drink.
The Nausicaa's still out and unconscious on the ground beside me.
Yeah, I took him off the board. He's just laying there on the floor.
Take it, and I look at 8, and as I kneel down, and I pour it into his mouth.
Tuzan physically face palms and goes, "Oh gosh, okay."
And the Nobulan who tried to step in and save you guys from a fight looks around and he says, you Starfleet are not what I expected, but you were sent by the Science Academy, of course, right? About my research, weren't you?"
What
Not
research?
particularly.
Oh, well, I just assumed that when I requested help from the Science Academy and then 4 Starfleet personnel showed up here, what else would bring you to this place?
Exactly what we were telling. We came here to see if we could talk to Gunther.
Oh. Okay. Well, I don't know what you would
Yeah,
need
that
Gunther
being
for.
said- That being said, we could still might be able to help you with science research.
Well, I believe Gunther, he doesn't exactly stay in one place, but I heard from my contacts that he's not too far away in the desert. But if you've come all this way, did you come in a starship?
We came to the planet in a shuttle.
Oh, well, okay. So you haven't read my report, that's right?
Correct.
He puts his hand on his head. I wish someone would take me more seriously at that academy.
Well, what's your research about?
Well, I've been studying the Akamarian star, which is quite fascinating for a number of reasons. I'm sure you've noticed the beta radiation that thing is putting out.
It's spiked a few times on the sensors, yes.
Well, you might be interested to know that the reason they call this Akamar 5 instead of Akamar 4 is that asteroid belt that's, between 3 and 5 used to be a planet. But a nasty solar storm, I believe, vaporized it some maybe million years ago.
Intriguing.
But
Do you think it could happen again?
of course, it could happen under the right circumstances at any time. But anyway, why I contacted the Academy is I've worked out a way to repair that star.
My eyebrow just raised. Go on.
It's a unique star, however, not completely unique in the galaxy, just unique in the way that it's behaving. But I believe if I could get a starship out to that star, you'd have to get pretty close. It wouldn't be very fun, but you could repair the damage and make it behave like a normal star of its type.
Intriguing. And what kind of effects would that ripple through the system?
Well, it would solve a great many problems, like this planet here. The atmosphere may certainly be able to be terraformed. You could reconstruct the electromagnetic field, and then who knows? Maybe this planet could become habitable. You certainly wouldn't have to worry about getting blasted by radiation when you go outside anymore. And as far as Akamar 3, that band of uninhabited space around the equator, well, it could develop life again since it's not being blasted by radiation all the time.
Intriguing. Very intriguing. I just looked at 8. Come with us.
Okay, well, I don't know exactly what you're here for, but I'm trying to tell you that whatever you're here for can't be as important as this. Like, we could dramatically change the lives of all the people in this system.
Yes. Now, we still need to talk to Gunther, but that technology, that method that you're talking about, I want to run simulations because that might be the bargaining chip that I need.
Well, I don't know exactly how I feel about my research being used as a bargaining chip for anything.
Walk with us.
Welcome
I'll
to
explain what we're here.
Starfleet.
I just looked down to Johan. Walk with us back to the shuttle. I'll explain the situation that we're in and why a bargaining chip like that might just be what we need.
Johan just looks at you guys. He is not in a EVA suit, by the way. He just pulls up his little medical kit and opens up and pulls out a hypospray. Like, yeah, outside. Yep. 1 second, and he just injects himself with something. He's like, okay. Yes. Walking.
And as all of you walk out the bar, we are actually going to transition to the main engineering of the Zukov. So, Yarelix, as you've made your way down, I'm so excited to bring this character into the game. Yarelix, as you've made your way down to main engineering, you notice there aren't too many people working on the ship. So, what the purpose of the Zukov was to ferry the injured off of other ships at the fleet on the border of the conflict with the Klingons to take the injured basically here to be treated, and then the ship was going to rejoin its place in the fleet. So, a lot of the people that are on this ship are actually the injured that have come back from the Hope and have been, treated. So you don't have a lot of staff working on repairing the ship like you probably should. But when you make your way down to engineering, there's really only one person here. He's a Vulcan of undetermined age. He's working on systems, and he looks up as you enter, and he looks at you with deeply intense, ferocious eyes. Like you can certainly see an endless sea of emotions, feelings, and power behind his gaze. But he looks up to you and he says, "Can I help you?"
Okay, breathe. It's like, I was told I could come down here to talk to you about some of the damages on the Zukov. Lieutenant Commander Rayelix of the USS Hope. I'm their chief engineer.
Okay. Some call me Seagal. Are you here to help?
I am, yes.
Well, the warp core was damaged.
I can see that. You're only capable of going on maximum of warp 6 right now.
That's right. And we can go a lot faster.
Of course. Well, if you'll show me what part of it's damaged, I can certainly get to work repairing it now, if you would like.
And Seagal, he approaches you and he hands you a pad and he crosses his arms. And you could see that with the power in his arms, he could probably break the pad in half if he actually chose to. But he's like standing there watching you, looking at the pad.
I will scroll through the pad.
So various things, mostly, like EPS overloads and stuff. How it comes out to mechanically is the Zukov has suffered about 4 breaches to her engine. She's a scale 5, so that puts her at damaged.
Mm-hmm.
Basically anything the ship does that would require the engines has a difficulty increased by 2, and she's slowly losing power.
I see.
You could almost say the ship is half past dead.
You could indeed.
Well, looks like we've got quite a bit of work ahead of us. And I'll kind of look at his uniform. Does he have any rank insignia or?
He does not have any rank pips on. He is wearing at least the yellow department uniform.
If I might ask, what's your rank, if you have one?
My rank was determined by my experiences through life.
For God's sake, I don't care about that. Do you have a commission in Starfleet?
Of course I do. I'm on this ship.
Through the data pad, I'm just gonna look this guy up to see if he even has a rank.
He was the ship's cook, but he stepped up. He stepped up to help the ship.
Oh no, this ship is screwed.
You can say he has maximum conviction to help out the ship.
Listen,
oh no,
we were under siege.
I'm taking 3 threat.
We were under we were under siege, and the ship needed help. So here I am.
you're the ship's cook, Mr. Seagal. What do you know about fixing a warp core, if anything?
It's a warp core. You fix it.
Yup. And Rahi Alex is just going to kind of awkwardly shuffle over to the warp core and just see if he can at least get it back to. He might not be able to get it back to the ship Zukov's maximum warp capability, but at least get it better than warp 6.
So the thing about this whole engineering effort, as far as repairing the Zukov, is you have some options here. You yourself can repair any of the damages that you run into, or you can try to coordinate your staff, or you can just try to leave it. I'd say for the time of this session, you probably have only time to do 3 systems, and only one of those you could repair yourself. So you could like repair the warp drive, you could repair hull breaches, communications, or internal systems, and then like coordinate, 2 of those that you didn't actually work on yourselves. But you can pick one, like whichever one you think is like the one that you yourself want to work on, and then we'll do roles to coordinate the others.
I will work on the warp core myself, and then I will coordinate teams to work on. Let me look at the damages again here.
It's in that engineering log. I can also call them out if you don't feel like pulling that up.
I found it. We're good. Let's
Seagal seems to
do
be a real patriot.
Yeah, I'll work on engines, and then we'll have other teams work on. Let's go with communications and structure.
Yeah, structure is by far the worst damage that the ship has. It has a total of 5 breaches.
Yeah. So we'll work on engine structures and communications.
Okay, so the difficulty will be a 3, just going off the stats to repair this. This is going to be an engineering control.
Okay. Let's see here.
And do you want Seagal to assist you?
No.
Okay.
Like he's a cook. Like, for God's sake.
Seagal says to you, "I didn't want this. The ship needed me."
Would this be? No, this probably would not be considered a maintenance task, correct?
Not exactly.
Okay.
Internal systems, that just 1 breach, I might swing it as maintenance, but the amount of damage the warp core and the hull has, I think it's beyond maintenance at this point.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Let's do. Okay. Power systems or warp core mechanics as a focus?
Yeah, absolutely. The warp core mechanics for sure.
And I will. Yeah, let's go ahead and do. Do I want to pop the termination? just in case I need it later, I'll keep it. I'll just give you a momentum for a third die.
Okay. And the difficulty is 3, and you're going at this one on your own here.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, because I just want to know if Seagal would assist, what is he rolling? I know it's control engineering, but what's his stat?
It's hard to actually sum up Seagal. All you can tell is that he has a formidable presence, obviously very powerful. As far as the depth of his power, it's hard to determine.
Sure.
You do feel that if his energy were directed into something, if it were an enemy, he'd obviously destroy them. If it were a problem, he would probably also destroy it as well.
Okay, yeah. It says he's a solo attack force.
Yeah, never mind. He's not helping. What do I want? Yeah, would you guys be okay with me taking the momentum we have to get a fourth one?
How much you just want the 2 then?
Yeah, because, well, hold on.
Yeah, you need 3 momentum if you want to get 2 extra dice.
Yeah. Because we have 3 momentum right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I haven't popped determination, so I would have to take all of it to get the 2 extra dice.
All right.
Okay, and I have a focus, complication range 1, control engineering. Yeah. Hey! 5 successes, so we get 2 momentum back.
So there's a montage, Ryelix, of you working on the warp core, and Seagal he's standing back. He knows he's not supposed to help, but he's got his arms crossed. And as you're working, lights come on, and in the montage, he looks at you and he shakes his head like he approves. And as you're working, more lights come on, the warp core comes to life, and he continue. We cut back to him, and again, he just shakes his head. He approves. But at the end, you have a functional warp core. The power systems come back. Again, this doesn't remove the breaches. It just repairs the damage for now so the ship can go to warp.
Sure. Okay. In that case, if I'm coordinating engineering teams here for the other 2, would I possibly be able to assist with presence engineering?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Let's get to that next. Later. I want to jump back to the ship at this point though, because I want to put Sophant. You said you were eventually going to make your way to Monty's quarters, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Sure thing.
Let's do that scene, because if Monty gets into repairs, your role, Ryelix, would actually matter a lot more. Yeah, so as you show up, you notice Danik taking his job very seriously. He's not only standing beside the door, he's actually blocking the door with his body, which is, as we've established, he's a very tall, very impressive Orion. He does have a phaser 3, and he's looking everyone that walks by the corridor very ominously. And then as you walk, he kind of comes to attention.
That is Mr. Danik. How is our guest?
The android hasn't left his room, sir. He's had one visitor from, it was Mr. Naval. But I noticed the only thing that Naval left was a book. I scanned it myself. There was nothing there to worry about.
Very good. Please let me in.
He steps aside. It's a control on the door because the door is locked, and it opens.
All right. I step inside.
Monty's just reading the book, and he's still playing the piano with one hand, and he stops as he looks up. Commander.
I was wondering if you wanted to get back into the uniform. It might go a long way if you took the offer I'm about to give you, but I make no guarantees, and it would be a risky assignment.
Understood. What is the assignment?
You are aware of the Zhukov's condition, yes?
Yes, multiple hull breaches, damage to structure, and engines.
Well, you being an android, you have the unique capabilities of working in environments where others cannot. Thus, I came here to find out if you would be willing to go over to the Zhukov and provide assistance.
I'd be happy to. Has the Scott class worker bees been deployed yet?
I just sort of look at a pad. Did Rayelix think to deploy them?
He would have sent out some of them, yeah.
Okay. Then I simply say, yes, several of them have been deployed.
And is Monday still in the shuttle bay?
I believe so.
I would like to request him to accompany. He used to be the Hope's assistant engineer to logins. He does have quite a skillful set of fabrication abilities, despite his large size.
Very well. I don't mind sending you both over there. But let me make one thing clear. This is sort of your last chance. If you hurt anyone, go out of control again, anything that would make me question your ability to perform as a member of the crew, that's it.
I understand, but I have no inclination to do any of that.
Well, I would simply say that apparently you didn't have the inclination when this thing's happened in the first place, but I'm willing to hope that you have gotten past that little bit of bad programming. Very well. Mr. Danik will be accompanying you at all times as well.
Is he trained in EVA?
Last I checked, he was, yes.
Excellent. I will just need the boots.
Very well. I turn, open the door, and I say, Mr. Danik, you will be accompanying Mr. Montgomery as he works on the Zukov.
Yes, sir. What should I do if he exhibits any aggressive behavior?
Demagnetize the boots and let him drift into space.
Understood, sir. And if he tries to escape?
Same thing.
And he looks into you, Montgomery, and says, okay, you, come on, let's go.
He'll get up and put his book down with a little bookmark where he want to leave off, and he'll head on out.
Let's actually cut to the surface of Akamar 2. So the doctor has been leading you guys across the desert, as it were. Were you going to go to the shuttle first, or are you actually going to follow where he's taking you? I can't remember, sorry.
Stop by the shuttle quick, but then on our way to figure out where our lovely friend is hiding.
Okay. The place he has taken you to, and you could have gotten most of the way here through just a transporter, though, is he's leading you into the mountains of the planet. And then we have another montage of you guys making your way across the planet. But you've got Zyvor, I've got 8. But the planet it's pretty bleak. As you're walking through, Renix has put on a suit himself that he'd carried, or that he had before. When you guys met him in the bar, he had one. But as you're walking across the desert, he passes a pad to you, Zyvor, and he says, you're this group's scientist, right?
Sorry, I had another jet. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Well, all we need is I'm going to need a vessel. The shuttle we just walked out would work just fine. You can see the procedure here. It should be very simple to accomplish with your shuttle. As long as your shuttle has metaphasic shielding, you should be all right. The Verteron pulse required should take, a very small amount of time, and that should be enough to repair the star, so long as you're able to complete the process.
I just sort of look at his data. I mean, does it seem scientifically sound?
It seems scientifically sound. As you're going through it, can you give me a reason science difficulty 3?
Sure. I'm going to spend one of the momentum for a third die.
Sensor operations would apply.
Oh, okay. I was going to say I don't think I had anything, but let's see what happens. That is a big negative.
No kidding.
In fact, maybe it's going to break his heart, but maybe as I'm with the pad, there's a little burst of solar radiation and the pad fries. And that can be the complication.
Okay, let's go with that. Yeah, you not only are you not able to really get too much from it? The pad short circuits and goes out. And Rennick's like, what have you done?
Johan takes a photo with a holographic emitter of the guy's expression.
Oh, let me drop it in Johan.
Well, it is a hazardous environment out here. Surely you have a backup somewhere.
This is, look where we are. I know most of it in my head, but I should be able to recreate it. It just will be, it'll just be more challenging, but I believe I can remember most of it.
I just sort of hand him back the pad awkwardly, like, here you go.
And he's sort of stammering when he takes it back, and he looks to you, Tuzan. What are we doing going to this Gunther character anyway? He's kind of a criminal, you know.
I'm aware. Although, I'm aware of what other people have told me about him. I have not learned from him directly, and I feel like it's always good to know straight from the source.
Well, is there anything you would like to know from me?
About Gunther or about you?
Either, I suppose. We only have a few minutes until we arrive at his camp.
Well, let's start with about you. Why are you on this piece of rock?
Well, I am an astrophysicist, and quite honestly, the star of this system has always been a fascination to me. It's unusual for a star of this age to be reacting in such a way. And when I came here, I realized that it's been behaving this way for quite a while and is very violent. And then I quickly realized that it should be easy to repair and improve the lives of many people if we were able to.
Seems like a noble reason to come out here.
And to be honest, I've always been trying to figure out a way to distinguish myself in the scientific community. It's quite difficult to do these days, but I believe if I can repair this star that, let's just say a lot of people will know who I am.
That's true. It'll be interesting to see what we can do with your research. What can you tell us about Gunther?
Well, to the people here on this planet, he's kind of a folk hero. I myself, I have encountered the man once or twice before. He wasn't exactly, remarkable in any other way. The people here love him because he helps them with supplies, and also he thumbs his nose up at the sovereign every chance he gets, which I think is why he's endeared himself to the people so much. I mean, he strikes me as a bit of an anarchist.
Noted. Have you ever witnessed any of the crimes that he is said to have committed?
He did demand a toll from me when I first came to this system, and when I couldn't pay, he took systems off of my shuttle, which did sort of strand me here. So you could say yes, I am acquainted with his malfeasances.
Fair enough.
Which is a shame, because if I had my shuttle, I don't know if I'd need Starfleet, and I could have fixed this problem a long time ago.
Well,
You're
we'll see
gonna
if we
blow
can-
up the sun.
He looks to you, Johan. What? Excuse me?
Oh, 1 second, and he's like gonna crank up his volume communication line directly to the doctor. Or you could have blown up the sun.
Well, that's a very slim possibility.
Percentage. What is it?
Well, I think it would depend mostly on the crew that executes the procedure that I've devised. It should be fairly low.
Oh no, I'm not talking about the crew. I'm talking about you. You said if you still had your shuttle, you could have done it. What was your odds?
Oh, well, I I'm very competent. I think I probably could have pulled it off.
Could have. Okay. Just gonna keep walking.
I
He
will
looks.
admit your methods sound very intriguing, although would rather run simulations to make sure that the science is just. We don't need to blow up a star and then have to deal with more refugees.
Well, I have to admit, despite what your colleague believes, that is actually a very minor chance. It's more likely and perhaps a higher probability that the star would stabilize and fix the lives of a great many people. I think, understand Starfleet caution, but I think this is one of those cases where Starfleet should endeavor to be a little more bold.
You can only be as bold. I don't know about you, but if you a slim chance is still a chance. I personally don't like seeing the possibility of blowing up what is one completely habited planet, one desolately inhabited planet, but both of which support life.
It's
I
it's
agree
far
that
more likely that the star would just well, its reactions would just stop. It would not explode. That would be an infinitesimally small outcome. I would just imagine if everything went wrong, the star would just reactions would stop.
basically killing the star, making both planets completely uninhabitable, and we'd have to relocate billions of people.
Well, it's a possibility, sure, but there's risk in everything that we do. There's risk walking through the desert here.
Oh, for sure. Which is why we're in EVA suits. What I'm saying is we need to eliminate as much of that risk as we possibly can, because I don't want to have the destruction of an entire civilization on my conscience. I wouldn't think you want that either.
Well, no, of course not. I came here to do good. I'm trying to help these people.
Good, then we're on the same page.
Of course. Okay, well, let's continue on then. I suppose I don't know exactly what kind of welcome you could expect from this Gunther character. Like I said, I've only had the worst kind of dealings from him, and he's not quite impressive to me.
Oh, right. Captain, with your permission, I want to do something.
What is that thing?
Cut out.
It's not gonna blow up anyone, if you're wondering.
Yes, but I'm going to have to ask you to describe what you're going to do.
Scan. I want to get an accurate number of what we're walking into. If we can find out how many life forms we're expected to encounter, it can be helpful for a contingency plan.
I don't see any harm in doing a little scan ahead.
He looks at 8 for a moment, and then he brings up his arm and taps on a little panel there and launches a micro torpedo. Not torpedo, sorry, micro probe.
I was about
from
to
the
say,
shuttle.
whoa, what are we getting into here?
He's thinning out the herd. Micro probe just to scan where they're supposed to be at.
I think what that would just let you do is just like a normal scan, just not being in the same location as them, if you wanted.
Yeah, something for that. So just
Well, what are you trying to determine first? And that'll determine if it's science or medicine.
life form numbers. Just want to get an accurate read.
Okay. Well, let's just do medicine reason then difficulty 0. For what it's worth, you could achieve the same thing with a tricorder. Oh, look at that. So you do have one success and a complication.
I'm fine with the complication. What do you guys?
Okay.
Yeah.
But hey, we got another momentum though.
This is true.
And ELH has 9 threat.
I like how ELH has more threat than I do. I think that's fair.
I think it was for all the Steven Seagal references from earlier.
I took 3 for everyone I cringed at.
That's fair. That's fair. I can take that.
Yeah.
Yep.
ELH was out for justice for all those.
I'm taking 4.
Stop. And now
Yeah.
he's going to use all of that against you in Dark Royal. It's fine.
I
Listen,
really-
he's been under siege this whole time. It's only fair.
Dark Royal's been marked for death.
So, Waltz, what you're able to pick up is there are 3 Akamarians ahead. They are at it looks like some kind of vessel, and the vessel doesn't look like it's in good shape. But yeah, there's like 3 or 4 of them. That's it.
Yeah, no, I'm picking up 3 or 4. He just shakes the tricord a bit, like, yeah. Well, I think we can take them if we have to.
Well, I'm hoping we don't have to, but that's good to know. Should something come up?
Well, I don't think the doctor there is going to put up much of a fight if we did have to escape.
We're not sacrificing anybody off.
I wasn't suggesting that. I'm just saying that our odds are even.
Fair enough.
And you could always ask more questions with that momentum if you'd like, or you could bank it if you want.
No, we'll just bank it.
Okay.
Unless anyone has an idea.
No.
Okay.
Only thing I have is when we get to see Gunther.
And with that, we're actually going to transfer to the Bridge of the Hope. And Sophanth, you are here on the bridge, and despite not having any of the stations here like tokens, the bridge is normally staffed. TM has been sitting at his station working on something. And as he's working, you hear his console start beeping, and he's like, he turns and he says, "Oh no, this just went as bad as it possibly could have."
Can you be a little bit more specific?
Well, Edon asked me to hack the communication network of Akamar 3 to see if we could find any dirt on the Sovereign, and they just detected it. Somebody has a monitoring system in place for their computer network, and they just detected they don't know what I was looking for exactly, but they did just detect that I broke through their system.
Sophanth just sort of stares at him, mouth open a little bit, and then just shakes her head and says, "So you did this without telling anyone who could have helped you prevent the situation?"
Well, like I said, Edon asked me to do it, and so I did it. We didn't know what their security system capabilities were. Apparently, they're a lot better than I thought.
Yeah, and now they know that we are trying to break into their communication network, which isn't going to help negotiations at all.
Oh boy, and yeah, they're hailing us.
Oh boy. On screen.
And on the screen is Sovereign Juron. Hello, I don't believe we've met.
I am Commander Sophanth of the USS Hope. I am acting in interim while the captain is away. What can I help you with, Sovereign?
I'm going to assume that your captain is out pursuing the criminal Gunther per our agreement. My next question
is perhaps that is perhaps correct.
Well, then my question is, why is your vessel attempting to break into my security system?
I just look very pointedly at TM and I say, it was a oversight that one of our officers decided to act of their own volition. Rest assured, they will be reprimanded for this action. And I would extend my apologies that this action actually happened.
One can't wonder. It is come to my attention that Senator Lana spent a considerable amount of time on your vessel. She is a political opponent of mine, I should say. And now with this incident, I'm beginning to wonder the intentions of your vessel.
I just sort of stare at him and shake my head and I say, if you are trying to imply something sovereign, perhaps it would be in our both of our best interests if you simply spoke plainly. What is it you are getting at?
What I'm getting at is I'm not sure why you are here. Your vessel came here asking for the help of my people, and then you are on this. You have gone to the planet with one of my rivals. You've said to arrest him, or perhaps not. You've consorted with one of my political rivals, and now you're attempting to break into my security system. All signs point to Starfleet attempting a coup on my planet under the disguise of requesting assistance. My question is, are those your intentions?
You may or may not be aware, but we have a prime directive that would prevent such an occurrence from happening.
And yet here we are, and I've just intercepted I've just intercepted your attempt to break into our security system. I have to ask, what good is your prime directive?
Is there anything else I can help you with, Sovereign?
Just know we will be watching you very closely now.
Very good. Hope out. And I cut the communication. And then I look at very almost dagger eyes at TM and I say, you're going to explain to the captain, as soon as he's back in communication range, why I'm now going to have to write up a report stating that we are breaking the prime directive.
I know this is bad. I know this is bad.
Bad doesn't even begin to cover it.
For what it's worth, for them to detect this incursion, they would have to be using a lot more sophisticated computer system than I even imagined they were capable of.
Well, maybe that'll teach you a lesson about underestimating your opponent.
Yeah.
And then I think Sophant just goes to the ready room to write a report.
Poor Sophant's had a big day.
Mm-hmm.
So Montgomery, I'm going to say that you have reported to engineering actually with Ryelix and Seagull in order to start talking about how you can start working on repairing the outer hull of the Zukov.
Okay.
And Montgomery, as you walk in, Seagull, he looks up from the warp core where he was standing very protectively and he just kind of looks at you. Well, you're a funny one.
Just tilt my head and look at him with greetings.
This is Mr. Seagal. He's the ship's engineer, and he'll kind of, quickly hand Monty a pad that shows that this guy's actually like the ship's cook.
Fascinating.
That's one word to use. Anyways, the captain here of the Zukov was thinking, excuse me, that we could use you in order to make some repairs to the outside of the ship, as I'm sure you're made aware of.
Yes, I was given a light brief on it. The damage to the outer hull is severe. I am worried about some of the EPS relays not shutting down correctly, so those areas might be more volatile for the Scott classes to be even working on. I would like to perform a on-site inspection to ensure that there is no power being supplied to those areas.
And of course, and I can maybe see if I can try and shut whatever conduits might be funneling power to those sections of the ship off from here, if I can.
How many breaches to structures were there?
5.
5? That is a nasty amount of breaches. Yeah, Monty's is going to look at the hull and tap the red line where it's outlined. A big chunk of the hull is missing. He's like, the shut-off commands may not work in these areas, so they may still draw power. The downside with the emergency relays is that they may kick in even without Atmo being present, and then they will provide power to the EPS relays. It'll be interesting. My concern is Danik. If he encounters a stray current, that will not be good for him.
Is Danik with Montgomery?
I just dropped him in. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, Danik would have been very closely following Montgomery in the room.
Is the rifle still aimed at my back?
No, he's carrying it a little more casually now, although still at the ready.
Danik, considering how dangerous this is, are you still wanting to stand as close as that, pointing to how close he is now with Montgomery while this is happening?
Lieutenant Commander, my orders were to watch this thing. I take my orders very seriously. If he's going to try something, you can be sure I'm going to be here.
I'm not one to question orders that you've been given, so is there any way we can at least give him extra protection, or...
This is a current worth thousands of watts that's going through the vessel. These are main EPS relays. There is a very good chance that I will even cease to function. And he looked at Danik like, medically speaking, it is not a way you want to go out.
I see. Well, can't necessarily break orders, so guess we'll just have to hop to it, and I can promise you that I'll do my best to make sure that power is shut off from those areas.
Very well.
Ed Seagal looks to you, Montgomery. He says, when it comes to my ship, you think you're above the law, but you're not above mine. You'd better not damage this ship.
He'll just tilt his head and look at him for a second. Like, fascinating. And he just slowly turns, still looking at Seagal, and then slowly turns and is ready to leave.
As Montgomery and Danik are preparing to leave, Rayelis will kind of like, not forcefully, but he'll grab Montgomery by the shoulder and turn him to face him, and he gets almost uncomfortably close to Montgomery, even though for Montgomery he's probably not uncomfortable with how close he is.
I'll say for that split second of you trying to pull him, there is no give until he relaxes it.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't trust you. Don't fuck this up.
Understood. I also respond without the use of profanity, though. And
Quite
just turn
frankly,
back.
I need to use it.
I see. Interesting. He'll just turn back and pick up some tools.
Seagal says, remember, if you break my ship, I'm taking you to the bank. The blood bank.
He kind of just turns to Seagal, just like, why do you speak like this?
As Monty leaves, Monday walks in with a big old beam across his shoulder. He just looks at both of you.
Hi?
Puts down the big old beam.
I was told you needed reconstruction.
Yes, but okay. um, let's see. Are you good with repairing structure or? Well, I guess we have Montgomery on that. Hold on, let me pull up my engineering log again. You're good. Are you good with communication systems, Monday?
Monday will just blink one at a time. And
I am good with shuttles, fabrications, models, and designs.
So I'm taking that as a no.
Yes.
Would Loggins have come onto the ship as well, or would he be on the Hope, kind of serving as the de facto chief engineer?
I mean,
I would love to see Loggins and Seagal together.
that's up to you. I think you'd be responsible for tasking him if you wanted him.
I guess since I'll ask ELH, since that's technically ELH's supporting character. Do you think Loggins would be on the ship, or would he stay?
I think Loggins would be in a worker bee, if
Okay.
anything.
I question if the universe could actually handle Seagal and Loggins in a scene together. I'm not sure it could. But Rayelix,
I want to see it happen.
yeah, let's do this. So we can speed along on this. If you can give me, I'll say that everyone helping with the communication system thing will give you an advantage to reduce the difficulty by 1. The difficulty
Okay.
would be a 3 for the communication system. So what I need you to roll is basically a leadership role that has at least 2 successes, and then that would mean that you coordinate everyone,
Okay.
or they listen to your orders, or they do a thing that works out. So I think we're gonna do engineering, probably present, since you're not on hand.
Yeah.
And the difficulty's 2.
Okay.
And just for a quick clarification, the communications are the worker bees assisting in this.
Yeah, I've already calculated them as an advantage also, because with the current number of breaches we have to structure, it increases engineering tasks by 1. So you would have actually started off with a 4, but then you've got 2 off for the assist and then for the worker bees.
Okay. I am going to pop my determination for Rayelix for the value of teamwork makes the dream work.
Hey, it sounds good.
Yeah. And then I have team dynamics as a focus.
Sounds good.
And presence engineering. Yeah. So that would be 3 successes.
Very good for 1 momentum. And so we see a montage of people moving through the communication system, some outside in worker bees, pulling back the damaged parts of the hull and replacing systems, and Rayelix, you're moving back and forth, coordinating. But while that's happening, let's actually move out to what Monty's doing, because Monty, you're in a different place. You're actually outside the ship. So as we see like a camera view of the Ambassador class Zukov, you're walking across the saucer Kinnis, and there's worker bees moving around you too as you're coordinating efforts. And let's see, I'm going to put, Danik is also moving behind you as well, but the two of you have moved actually out to the external side of the ship. You can see Akamar 3 spinning in the distance, and then also even further away is the Hope.
I'll take a moment just to look up at the planet and spot the Hope and just stargaze for just a second before continuing on.
So Montgomery, how are you going to approach this? Are you going to tackle these repairs yourself, or are you going to try to work with someone else?
What I'm going to try and do is make sure the sections are shut off from power, and if they're not, I'm going to try and find any external access panel that could help, shut power off, and try to restore some atmosphere, or at least to set up containment force fields. Since we're getting power back, we could try and regulate the power flow so it's not, causing overloads, and all of a sudden their force field's gone and they're sucked out into space.
Sounds good. I've just put the extended task together here.
Do I see logins in one of the worker bees?
I'm gonna ask ELH. Does he see logins?
Maybe he waves as he passes by.
So what we've got here is we've got an extended task that you're going to have to work through, Montgomery. It is a difficulty of 2, so I've increased the difficulty slightly because of all the existing damage. It's going to take 3 breakthroughs, and you have a work track of 10. But I'm actually going to put some intervals on here because something might happen if you run out of time here. So I'm actually going to give you, 6 intervals. So unless you take some away with momentum, that would be 3 checks here to see if you can get through the repairs.
Okay.
You will be rolling, it's probably an engineering control, I would say.
Okay. Decent score. Would any of the bees be helping me out?
That's already factored in.
Okay.
I would allow an
okay.
assist with Ryelix if you would actually be coordinating with him.
Yeah, I'd be letting like an open communication so he knows exactly what conduit I'm at, what junction I'm trying to bring back online, and how much power I'm trying to feed it.
Okay. What would
Ryelix,
be? Would I also be control engineering? Or
no, you'd be engineering, I think you'd probably be engineering presence, but caveat is, I'm going to increase your complication range by 3
Okay. Ooh.
in the assist.
Ooh. Ooh. It is this complication range for the reason I think it is?
I have a lot of good ideas, yeah, for complications.
Okay. Okay. Oh. Like
Let's see.
I wanna help, but that increased complication range is brutal.
Yeah, it'll be fine. What's the worst that can happen, huh? Only you know.
Famous last words.
I have enough threat for a Borg cube.
Okay. Emergency repairs as a focus?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I will give 1 momentum if you guys are cool with that to half the interval.
Out of curiosity here, Monty, what's your engineering score?
3.
Okay, in this case, I will do the assist. And I will spend our other momentum to activate collaboration engineering. So whenever an ally attempts an engineering task, I can spend a momentum to allow you to use my engineering score and one of my focuses if you want. So you would be shooting for a 5 instead of a 3 for your engineering.
Okay.
And then since you increased the complication range by 3, Josh, that would mean that on the sheet the complication range would be 4. Would that be how it works?
Yeah.
Okay. Focus here of either power systems or team dynamics.
I think team dynamics would be more than appropriate.
Okay.
I forgot to mention too, you do have a resistance of 2. I don't have a great place for that, so that's what the key and the heart icons are. 2 resistance.
Gotcha.
If you actually hover over an icon, like the shield one, just press 2.
All right. I'll let Monty roll first because I'm nervous here. My increased complication range.
Okay. So 2 dice. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Oof.
So you need 1
Okay,
from... Yeah, you need 1.
Oh, that would be sorry, the 4 there would actually be a crit because I'm now a 5 instead of a 3.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
So-
so you got your 2 successes. Very good.
And let's see this assist.
You'll execute the shit out of me.
Hey. Cool.
All right, so that's 3 successes. You get 1 momentum. Remember, you need to roll your engineering, which is a 5 now, plus 2 challenge dice. So 7 challenge dice, please.
And do we want to use that momentum for the next interval test, or do you want to use it for penetration?
Hmm. I would almost say we use it for penetration here.
So I'm going to mark
Well,
off 2.
do we know what the resistance is?
2.
The
Yeah,
resistance is 2.
it's a 2 currently.
I mean, honestly, I would wait until we see the roll.
Okay.
Oh,
Then
that's
here
fair.
is the roll.
Oh,
Yeah.
even with the
Little
2
breakthrough
resistance, that's a
regardless.
breakthrough.
Mhm.
It would have been, but your GM is going to spend some thread on a complication to increase the resistance by 2. Actually, I need to do 4 spins for 2 increase. So your resistance is now 4.
Evil GM.
So, oh man.
I
So do you
mean,
do
if
the-
you think you can get it done, I would say use the momentum, but
I would almost say we have to, but yeah.
I believe
but-
that's currently 3 off of the work track. And
Yep.
once you guys figure this out, I'll explain what that complication is a little further.
Okay.
Does anybody have Miracle Worker?
Nope.
Nope. I'd say let's just do the momentum for it, because I still have my determination.
all right, because yeah, that'll lower the difficulty, thankfully.
So cut the resistance by 2 and got 2 more on the track, so we got 5 on the track.
Which is a breakthrough.
You've only got to get 2 more, and that lowers the difficulty down to 1. But the complication that I'm going to enact is, so 2 things, Montgomery, you realize, you picked this up through your suit. The first of all is this area that you're working on, Danik is closely following behind you. He is not exactly paying attention to what he's doing, and you've had to tell him to like not step here or not step there. So it's actually very distracting, even with your advanced capabilities, because you're having to really watch him in addition to doing your work, which is very dangerous. On top of that, your suit warns you that the reason you have intervals here is because the star has just emitted a one of those bursts of radiations that we talked about. It will be a problem for you. It will most certainly fry Danik in his suit.
Okay. How close am I to a hull breach?
I mean, they're everywhere.
And how long do I have?
You now have, let's see, you guys didn't spend momentum to decrease the interval, did you?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
We
you
did.
did. Okay, so just 1. Okay. So let's see, you have 5 intervals left. Say, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe?
Okay, and does his suit pick up the same thing I'm picking up?
It does,
he just
but
doesn't understand
he's not exactly paying attention to it.
Montgomery to Commander Sofang.
Go ahead.
Danik's going to be in danger in roughly 10 minutes' time from a radiation burst from the star.
Yes, I see that on our sensors now.
I'd prefer if he went back into the ship while I continue working.
So, Danik,
This is Danik.
would you be able to keep control of the magnetic boots from inside the ship?
I could, sir, but then the android could do whatever he wanted to unsupervised.
Well, I would rather risk that than risk losing you. Get inside, Danik.
Sir, I've monitored the situation from my suit. I don't think it's quite as urgent as the android has made it sound.
Could I do an insight or a reason science for Sophant to see, how bad it really is?
Sure. It's probably very easy for you. Let's do a reason science difficulty of 1.
Okay. Survey says 1 success.
It might if he gets the full force of it, like if the planet doesn't block any or the ship itself doesn't block any, like if he's just out there in the open, yeah, he's going to take a significant amount of radiation that could be lethal. Barring that, he might just need to be inoculated when he gets back in the ship.
Danik, I'm seeing the possibility here that if the planet does not take enough of the radiation away from you, You will take a lethal dose. And again, I would rather not lose you. I will take the risk. Please move inside.
Yes, sir. Going now. He turns to you, Montgomery, and he says, "You, if you try to pull something, I want you to know you're not getting rid of me. I don't care what kind of radiation storm there is."
I just want to make sure you live.
So you say.
And yeah, Monty will just go back to work.
Yeah, so same deal as last time. And engineering control, and then you can assist Ryelix with engineering presence, assuming you're still assisting, which I imagine you are.
Yeah, same complication range as before.
Yep.
And I don't have that 5 anymore, correct?
Correct, because I think the way that collaboration reads, it's only for one task.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay then. So now I'm looking for a 13.
It's only difficulty of 1 now, so you have much better odds.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. Now we just pray my assist isn't a complication. Hey!
And 5 challenge dice.
You have 4 resistance.
And we do have a momentum to spend, just so you know.
Yep. Yeah.
Whew.
Could. Oh, I can. Okay, this is gonna. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a threat to reroll the zeros, and then I'm going to. Let's. Woo. Do you want to give them the momentum and then a threat to cancel out the resistance, or at least 4 works get done?
Might as well give him 2 threat and the 1 momentum, because then you would do 5 work, which would be another breakthrough, and it would complete the work track, which would finish the extended task.
Yeah, do that then.
So I believe I'm taking 3 threat.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, Montgomery, you've managed to piece together most of the problems on the ship. Again, the breaches are not gone, just the problems caused by the breaches have been solved. So what you've done, we again see another montage of you welding in place deck paneling where you can, and in most other places it's just getting the emergency force fields repaired so they can come back on. Also fixing the structural integrity of the ship so that it can actually move at the speeds that the warp core can achieve now. The ship doesn't look much better, it looks more hodgepodge, but you have managed to recover the damages from all the hull breaches.
Alright, I will point out we didn't use a momentum or threat to cut down the interval, so that was however long that needed to take.
Oh, you had enough. You had still I think 3 or 4 left, so you were good there.
I was just worried about the radiation hitting me.
No, you still had time.
Okay, good.
Assuming you're going in after you're done, I should ask, Montgomery, what are your intentions now that you're out on the hull of the ship by yourself?
Everything's sealed up, everything's fine, we have no other breaches we have to worry about for the hull?
Well, I imagine there's probably parts of the ship that had just been evacuated because there's so much damage you can't repair it, but those sections have been sealed off as best you can.
Chief Engineer Ryelix.
Yes.
As you are aware, we have re-established force fields or proper containment of the hull breaches. There are the other areas though that are still questionable. I would like to make sure that the seals are still intact, and if I can move any of the bulkheads to a closed position, I would like to do so.
You had one job, Montgomery. It's done. Get back inside.
Understood. And Monty's going to radio logins. Montgomery to logins.
Hey, what can I do for you, boss man?
I don't have that position anymore. I was hoping you could take a look and maybe run a scan to ensure these areas are structurally sound at high warp. And he's going to send him with information of sections of the hull to look at.
Yeah, as long as you don't go above warp 6, should work just fine.
Understood. Thank you. Yeah, he'll make his way on inside.
And Montgomery, as you make your way inside, we now transition back to Akamar 5. And really without too much fanfare, the doctor has led you guys to what looks like a crash site on the planet. Just in the middle of the desert, there is it's probably a runabout sized vessel that has really just landed very hard. It looks like there was some damage to it, and it's kind of broken apart mostly on entry. It could be repaired, but it's in really bad shape. But some individuals have made just a campsite out of it, and they're just sitting there. They are all Akamarians. They have various pieces of EV gear, not a complete EV suit. They are armed, but they're just kind of just sitting there watching you approach. No one jumps up or anything. They just are eyeing you. And their conversation dies down as the 5 of you make your way in.
I imagine I take the lead and walk in and go, greetings.
And the man you recognize is Gunther. He's chewing on like a piece of meat that he's been cooking over the fire. He just kind of chews that and looks you over. He doesn't respond.
I'm Commander Tuzon.
Well, good for you.
I'm assuming that you are Gunther?
Yeah, I guess I'm Gunther. What's it to you?
Well, to be quite honest with you, was sent here to try to capture you. Not that I am, but that's what I was originally sent here for.
Huh. Is that so? Is that what your little army here is for, is to capture me? Let me guess, you're a stooge of the Sovereign.
I would say I'm a stooge of Starfleet and the Federation. The Sovereign? Not so much. I don't trust him.
Well, a man that cheats his way into the government, that continues to overthrow elections. Yeah, I could see why you wouldn't trust him. What's that got to do with me?
Well, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, unfortunately, I guess we could see it both sides there. I've been tasked with trying to acquire the trust of the Akamarian government to create a hospital for injured personnel, Starfleet personnel from the front lines. If you are aware, maybe you're unaware, we're fighting a war, and unfortunately the front line kind of circumnavigates the Akamar system.
He stops chewing on that piece of meat and he tosses it in the fire and he looks back to you. So what's that got to do with me?
Well, when we approach the Sovereign, I don't think this will be of any surprise to you. In order to gain his trust, he wants us to capture you. Like I said, I don't have any plans of doing that. But I do want to kind of know why.
So he's sent you to capture me, huh? And the rest of the Akamarians around the camp all laugh with him. I guess it would take Starfleet to capture me, wouldn't it?
Well, it sounds like you're kind of a little bit of a thorn in the side of the Sovereign, although I could see why. But I want to know your story. I pull up a seat next to the fire and sit down next to the fire.
Well, not too much to tell, really. The Sovereign made it illegal for people to survive, so of course everyone becomes an outlaw. That's my story. Every
Yeah,
election we
exactly.
try to have, the man throws it out. So what's the point?
Not exactly a free democracy when the voice of the people don't get to be heard.
Exactly. He keeps people from leaving the planet. He controls all the real estate. Yeah. Some of us, he looks around, my fine cohorts and I had decided that we were going to play that game anymore. So we broke away and moved to the lavish accommodations you see here to run our significant criminal enterprise, which is no doubt causing issues for the Sovereign.
I just smile. He mentioned something along those lines. Although, I just look at the ship. Doesn't seem like you've been up and running here recently.
No, we had a bit of engine trouble. On our way out, we encountered a Klingon ship or something, and well, they took a shot at us. I think they might have been trying to chase us too. I made it to the planet. Well, let's just say my pilot didn't give us a good landing, but he paid for it with his life. So I can't begrudge him that.
Sorry to hear that. Just had a Klingon.
Yep.
Interesting.
Came out of nowhere. We never even saw it.
No. They have an uncanny way of doing that. You wouldn't happen to have any information on that.
Only information I have is their weapons work pretty well, and that's why we're here.
Fair enough. Well, I can definitely tell you're not much of a threat. No offense.
Wow, thanks. Glad to be so analyzed.
I come from a background of medicine and science. Analysis, kind of something that I do.
He points at Divor. Never seen one of those. Is that a Tholian?
Yes, indeed.
It's interesting. Didn't know anything with that many legs was in Starfleet.
Technically, I'm an exchange officer.
Right. Of course you are. He looks over. Ah,
Technically, you're a PR stunt.
I see you've got that Weasel Renix with you. Has he convinced you that he can save the galaxy yet?
No, not at all.
He's working up to it.
I will admit that I'm intrigued by his scientific ideas, but I'm not willing to try them until they are proven effective.
What's it gonna be, Starfleet? Are you gonna arrest us or what?
No, I'm not going to arrest you. In fact, I'd rather give you supplies so that you don't, well, die out here.
Huh. We've been out here a while. I'm not really worried. There's places to hide from the radiation.
There's also another alternative.
And what's that?
It might. I look at him. If you request asylum upon the ship, it's my duty as the commanding officer of the ship to accept or deny that asylum. The Sovereign simply said he wants me to, quote unquote, take care of a problem. If you were to request asylum and I grant it, then you can come on the ship, be a civilian. If you want to start as an officer, we definitely need pilots, as we are a carrier ship, but we need a lot of personnel. You wouldn't have to worry about where your next meal comes from. And, as far as I see it, I've upheld my part from the Sovereign.
So Tucson, why don't you give me, because this is a pretty heavy task to convince him to like just go work for Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna make a roll for you here, but it's gonna be difficult because of like the weight of what you're trying to convince him to do. Let's do a command presence, difficulty 4, but with threat I'm gonna make it a difficulty 5.
And we have no momentum, do we?
Nope.
Okay. Difficulty 5. Presence command. I'm going to tap my determination using the orb experience talent that I have, which is everyone has a purpose. Is the value I got from that one.
Okay. Tell us about the insights that led you to this particular orb experience, because we haven't asked you that before.
That's true. The orb experience happened when Tuzon was in the occupation camps and working in their medical bays, for lack of a better way of putting them, learning a lot of the medicinal remedies that he learned using what was around. But out of that experience, he learned how the inner workings of that everyone matters, and the orb experience that he had a very similar message of no matter how big or small a person's role in society, everyone has a purpose.
Sounds good. And I think your diplomacy focus would certainly apply.
Awesome. I have 2 automatic successes. I am going to give you 3 threat for a 3rd die.
Okay.
Wouldn't you need to only give him 2 threat?
No, because the determination is 2 out of successes. But I did just get that 5 successes.
Did you well, let's go back. Did you had 5 dice, right? So you had one from determination?
1 from determination. I just because determination dice counts as a 1 extra, it's I guess it's 2 for an additional dice, not 3. Sorry.
Yeah, not 3. Okay. Yeah, I just want to be sure.
I realized I messed that up. So yeah, I just bought an extra dice with threat. So
Cool.
But still, 5 successes.
Gunther looks at you and he says, "You know, I've done a lot of things. I could try this Starfleet thing for a while. You know, I think that would make the Sovereign pretty angry. And let me ask you something. Would we get to eat whenever we wanted to?"
Typically, it's you eat when you're not on shift or during your lunch hour per se. But for the most part, anytime you want to step away and get a meal, that can be pretty well ranged. There's enough people on a starship that are there to assist each other that everyone covers each other. So if you need to slip away for food, by all means.
Huh. Well, I guess I could try this Starfleet thing for a while. What about my associates here?
Anybody who wants to seek asylum, I am willing to grant that.
They all kind of look around at each other and he says, "Well, Commander, I guess we could try to make this work. Be interested to see the Sovereign's face when you tell him you've hired us on."
Oh, I'm looking forward to that conversation.
And then one of the Akamarians, say he looks at you, 8, and he says, "Do I get me one of those fancy uniforms like you've got?"
It can certainly be arranged.
Absolutely. Now, we can do a couple of different ways with you getting asylum. If you want to start in as basically it'll be bottom of the totem pole, but a non-commissioned officer, we can assign you roles. We definitely, like I said, we definitely need pilots, but there's a multitude of different positions on the ship that we could look at, that if you wanted to kind of feel around to the different positions before you choose one, I'm not opposed to that.
Very good. I could see myself in a few years becoming what do you call it? I could be an admiral of Starfleet. Have my own fleet. I like that.
It'd take much longer than a few years to accomplish that, but I like your ambition.
Anybody with ambition and the willing to do anything to achieve that goal, now that's who we need.
And Renix leans in and he says, "Commander, this is outrageous. This man is a criminal."
Not anymore. He's now officially granted asylum in the United Federation of Planets on the USS Hope.
Gunther says, "Yep, that's right, Doctor. So, next time, get your salute ready. I'm Starfleet now. I'm all official."
I just look at Renix. You're welcome to join us on the ship.
Well, you tell me if you're interested in my research as a possibility. I would be happy to go on your ship and work with your science people. Not that one. That one's already caused me enough trouble. He points to Zivor. If you're willing to give it a chance, yes. But otherwise, I'll find someone else that'll listen to me.
I'm sure we have a laboratory somewhere on our ship that we could give you and let some of the members of our science crew help out. It's definitely something that I am willing to look into. I like the idea of making this system more habitable, and frankly, I see it as a way to eventually gain very good friends in the Akamari system.
And what's this is Gunther. What's your rank again? He's pointing to you, Tucson.
I am a commander, although as a commander, I hold the captain's position aboard the ship.
Okay, Commander, Captain. You said you want to build something here. I could show you. A good place to build whatever this thing is you're looking to build. Just my only favor I ask is that when you have that communication with a sovereign, I'd like to be standing right next to you.
I just smile. I think that can be arranged. Let's see where you have here, because we need a hospital as soon as possible. And if you have a location that will be protected, I'm all for looking at different our options.
And he looks around, say maybe produces a pad from somewhere, and he says, "I think I've got the right sort of place." And he looks around to hand it to. You want to see who do I hand it to? One of this thing's arms. Who wants this?
I grab it, look at it quick. What's the kind of data that's showing?
Basically, he has discovered that if you go beneath some of the mountains on this planet, they act as a natural barrier to the radiation. And in fact, he and most of his gang have little bases or little pockets and caves throughout the like a tunnel system inside the mountains, and it seems to work for them. And he's actually recommended some of the larger caves as a structure you could build, a sizable hospital in, and just the natural geology of the cave should protect it from anything coming off the star.
I just take a look at it. Well, if I'm reading this right, we might just have the perfect location for a hospital.
Yeah, it smells bad, but it works for us. After a while, living with this one, and he points to one of the other members of his crew, you don't even notice it anymore.
I just smile. Well, did I mention that every quarters has a sonic shower that everyone will be able to take advantage of?
Sonic what?
Sonic shower. It's a thing that we use to clean ourselves.
Oh, okay. We could give that a shot.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so at this point, Tuzan, I imagine you'd hop on the shuttle and head back towards the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna fast forward a little bit. Let's maybe jump to your ready room. And just a bit of time has passed, so some events that have happened are the Zukov has actually gotten underway. She's turned around and started, heading out of the system since all of her repairs have been finished. Tuzan, you have been, and we can have the conversation after this, but at least you've been notified about what happened with TM's security failure. And then Tuzan, Sofanth, you would have been briefed from Tuzan already about what happened on the planet, just so you guys know as you start this conversation, you're all caught up and you can talk about actually what to do next.
Alrighty.
I just look at Sofanth. So, Lieutenant Commander, it seems we both have had, interesting days.
Yes, I would perhaps question the wisdom of going through this publicity stunt with Gunther.
Well, the Sovereign thinks that he has complete control over everybody. He gave us the task of getting rid of a problem. We got rid of the problem for him. Basically, just a little bit of a you think you can control us, but you can't.
And yet, I would be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that by making the problem one of us, motioning at the both of us, he will simply write off Starfleet as the new problem.
It's a potential thing that could be there, although, in looking at some of the political stuff happening on the planet as I motion to some of the pads, the Sovereign seems to be kind of losing favor and showing that we aren't going to give in to his exact demands, but also fulfill our end of the deal. Therefore, he needs to fulfill his end of the deal. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, to say the least.
Hmm. Well, I would normally agree with you, sir, but given the conversation I had with him after TM's misguided infiltration,
Of which I did ask him to do.
yes, I would have appreciated knowing. I would have assigned him greater resources had I known that was what he was working on.
Fair enough, although I wanted to keep it on the down low. Simply because the less people that know, the less people that fall.
True. Well, I suppose all that's left to do is this publicity thing.
Indeed. I really, really would love to be able to deal with the Sovereign, and now it's his turn to uphold his side of the deal.
And then, yeah, I think Sophanth makes sure Gunther is on the bridge as was requested and just sort of waits to give him the signal to walk into frame.
All right, let's go do this communication.
And as you step on the bridge, you see Gunther. He is now in not exactly a Starfleet uniform, but sort of like the gray Wesley Crusher sort of uniform arrangement, but not exactly. He has found a sonic shower, although he may need several of them before he starts to smell like a person should. But yeah, other than that, I don't think we have anyone else on the bridge. Unless Rayelik, you would have found your way here.
Nah, he wouldn't be on the bridge.
I just look. Open hailing frequencies. And let's see how much of the planet we can patch in.
And TM says, well, I have done a very good job of having people track our communications. It should be fairly easy to get the rest of the planet in on this. Okay, 1 second. Here we go. And the Sovereign appears.
Sovereign Jiren, just the person I wanted to see.
Yes, Commander Tuzon, I take it that you've captured Gunther. Noticed quite a bit of traffic between your vessel and Akamar 5.
Well, you can say that we've captured, and I put air quotes around him. Although I do believe your exact words were to take care of your problem. I just look at Gunther and kind of give him the motion to step into frame.
And he walks in. And he says, hey, Dad. Didn't expect to see me on a Starfleet ship, did you? Well, you should know. Yeah, they signed me up. I've enlisted. And Jaren's like, what? What? Gunther, you did what?
I speak up. Sovereign, you asked us to take care of a problem in your political infrastructure. I didn't feel like capturing a person who was just trying to survive, so I decided to use an alternative. Gunther here asked for asylum, and I granted him upon my ship. He is now officially a member of the USS Hope and a protected citizen of the Federation. Therefore, he is no longer your problem. Therefore, I have fulfilled my side of the deal. Now let's see if you can fulfill yours.
This is outrageous. That's not what I intended. You know that. I wanted him as a prisoner so that we could use him as an exchange with the this is completely unacceptable.
You simply said that I needed to take care of a problem. I did. I upheld my end of the deal, and as this is being broadcast across your entire planet, upheld my end of the deal. Will you uphold yours?
I agreed to nothing. I said that if you gave me Gunther, that negotiations could begin on whatever it was you wanted.
See, but I have a communication device on me at all times. I point to the insignia. It has some limited recording capabilities. And I believe what the recording states is if we upheld our end of the deal, you would see that you would get the backing of your supporters in the Senate to help us build our hospital.
Well, we don't have the resources to do that, no matter what you said,
I
or you may have.
never said that we had to use your resources. I have ships in system already with the supplies and the personnel to build a hospital.
Fine. You can build a hospital in Akamar too.
We actually have, and I will put up a thing. We found a location that would be perfect here on Akamar 5. It just so happens that we found some natural radiation barriers that would help to protect the hospital and help to boost Akamar 5 and their population, since you decided to not take up my deal right away with the advanced climate control weather net to help with your population along the equator in the inhabited zone. We'll be happy to use our resources to put that into Akamar 5 and to help dial back the radiation that the star is producing. We also found a scientist that has some really magnificent ideas on how to dial back the radiation bursts of the Akamar star. And we've granted him a laboratory aboard the USS Hope in a way to develop that research in the hopes of being able to in the hopes to give the star more stability in this stage of its life and stop the radiation bands, effectively eliminating the uninhabited zone around the equator, but also cutting back the amount of radiation on Akamar 5, which I did offer you the chance to present the idea of an advanced weather net uh, to the Senate when I first met you 3 days ago. And you said that I would have to capture or take care of Gunther for you. The way I see it, you've been you've been making it so that your planet can't succeed by not letting us use our technology to assist you.
And you've been breaking into security systems on my planet and conspiring with other senators to have me overthrown. Honestly elected official of this planet. You know what? You and that criminal can go to Akamar 5 and live in your caves. Do as you will. It only cements my position that we have no place with outsiders, especially this federation of yours. If you can resort to such duplicity, you are certainly no friend of my people. But go, do whatever you will.
I'm sorry, Sovereign, that on a planet of a democracy where everyone has free will, We simply ran into another senator, and she was curious of some of the technologies that we wanted to use to help benefit the people of the of Akamar, the
And
advanced climate weather nets.
breaking it into our security system was what?
I simply was looking at some of the fortifications of a planet. If we are looking at building hospital in the system, we need to make sure that all the systems of a planet are fully capable.
A likely story. Let's see, it's a hospital today, then a military outpost, and before long, the Federation will be running my planet.
The Federation runs no planets. We have member worlds, we have colonies, but each planet has their own government system.
Call it what you'd like. As I've said, you can have Akamar Fire. For all good it will do you. Just know, you've made an enemy today of the Akamarian people, and we will be watching you. And as far as that, and he points to Gunther, you can have it.
Very well. But I will be interested to see how your people react, as, again, this has been broadcast across the entire planet.
My people will understand that as the elected official of their people, that I am in a good place to... And the communication cuts off. And TM says, sorry, it just felt like the right time to stop.
Yeah. Do we still have connection to the communication, or to their communication network?
Yeah, it's actually fairly easy to overwrite their whole communication network system. I just kind of tired of listening to that guy.
Oh, me too. Go ahead and transmit that information that we got from Senator Lana. Let's just see how long he can hold on to his duly elected position. We came here, we got what we needed, the land for a hospital and a few new crew members. I see it as our work here is done.
Just so you know, if you do transmit that, that is sort of a prime directive breach.
I'm aware.
Okay. I don't think TM would argue. And since Sofantha wasn't speaking up, I was like, well, maybe I should just make that clear, that if I wasn't clear what the information was, that's actually what you're doing.
No, there's a report going to Starfleet Command, because
Okay.
she already brought it up to the captain once, and he didn't take her advice. So yeah, there's a report going to the Admiralty, rest assured.
Okay.
No, the Commodore. Yeah, no, I'm fully expecting it.
And the few keys, TM punches it through, and he says, well, there it goes. I imagine there's going to be quite an uproar on this planet.
Well, if we set up the weather net and the radiation elimination systems that we can for the hospital on the ship, or on the Akamar 5, we just might have a little bit of a population shift.
And Gunther, you hear a beep behind you, and it's Gunther at one of the consoles, and he's just pressing a few keys, and he says, where's my station with the console and stuff? Where do I sit?
I just look at him. Well, Gunther, we have a little bit of time before you can be a full-fledged bridge officer, but we can find some stations for you.
And he looks at Sophanth. Are you somebody's pet?
No. Are you?
Hey, just like a Gunther. Meet my first officer, Lieutenant Commander Sophanth.
Lieutenant Quaz, what up, Sophanth? My name is Admiral Gunther.
I just smile and shake my head.
Yeah, I sort of give the captain a withering look, like, really? This is who we brought aboard?
I just look at Sophanth. What? We needed an out? I made my own out.
As you wish, sir.
And we're actually going to transition to a scene with Montgomery. You have actually been given, I'm going to just say you were given authority to go to the lounge a little after hours just to get you out of your quarters. And you've just been sitting there. You don't really have necessarily a need to eat. But of course, off in the corner is Danik, who's been watching you all throughout the day, all throughout the night with his trusty phaser rifle in hand. But Naval has walked onto the lounge and he just notices you off in the corner. May I join you, Mr. Montgomery?
Certainly, please.
So how did it go?
The mission went well. We informed the ship not to exceed warp 6, as the other sections of the ship could not be verified for structural integrity. But I believe she'll make it back.
Well, from what I read, it seems as though you were key in repairing the systems on the Zukov. It looked like there was a lot to fix on that ship.
The ship suffered heavy damage, but I would not say that I was special in the repairs. It was just an easier task for me, but it's very doable by everyone else.
Well, I'm sure you showed at least one person or a few people today that your intentions that you could do more on this ship than bust EPS conduits, I should say.
Well, as I said, this is going to be a journey, and it'll be an interesting one for sure. And I am glad that no complications arose from our repairs.
Yes, the Zukov seems to be underway just fine. One last thing though, you mentioned that it was on its way back. I don't understand. Back to where?
To wherever it was supposed to go.
Ah, okay. I just assumed that you knew where it's headed. I think it's a good thing that Starfleet's decided not to send it back to the front lines. That seemed a little, their course seemed a little strange, but I thought maybe perhaps you knew what their destination was.
I'm unaware of it. Are they not returned back to Starbase?
And he reaches down to a pad. No, they're headed out of this sector. In fact, Starbase, they're headed the opposite direction of any Starbase.
Fascinating. Maybe they have another mission to uptake.
Perhaps, and as I said, maybe I'm acting on or speaking on incomplete information. I just assumed that they might be returning back to the front line, which was, I thought, the point of the repairs. But again, I am out of the loop in this circumstance.
And due to my circumstances, I was not informed of any heading or mission they were on, just to simply help with the repairs.
Very well, Lieutenant. Sorry, I should say, Mr. Montgomery, I'll leave you to your drink. I mostly came to congratulate you on a successful mission.
Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you, you as well.
Monty will look to Danik like, do you sleep by chance?
No, I don't. I'll be getting over to watch you, and that's what I'm going to do.
Very well. Is there someplace more comfortable you wish to watch me from?
Comfort doesn't factor into it.
Oh, did we lose Josh?
No, he says comfort doesn't factor into it.
Oh, did we lose me?
No, I can hear you. I can hear both of you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hello?
There you are.
There you go.
Hello, Monty, can you hear me?
Tucson show up.
Yeah, and I can hear you again. The weird
Cool.
issue happened again.
Can Tucson show up? Sure. There Tucson there. At Tucson, when you walk in, the condition of the lounge is this is probably like the beginning of third shift, so it's pretty late, and it's mostly abandoned except for Kinnis and Danik.
I walk up to Kinnis.
Captain?
Montgomery, I heard you did some good.
I was able to assist with repairs.
Well, I don't think that's bad, so it must be some good.
I hope so. What brings you down here so late?
Well, sometimes I just have to get off the bridge, and after the day that I had and some of the moves that I made, A little relaxing, never hurt anything. How about you? What brings you down here?
Well, I was in my quarters after return to the vessel, and I figured that Danik has been watching over me for quite some time, that he might be thirsty or like a better area to sit, so I figured getting permission to come to the lounge would be good.
Indeed. It's always nice being here and looking out through the windows. Strange being on this new ship. Still getting used to it.
The vibration of the deck plates do change often. I'll have to let the chief engineer know this.
How are you holding up?
Structurally sound, sir.
You know what I mean.
I do. It is my attempt at humor, though. I am unsure. That is the best way to describe it.
It's understandable. A lot of things have happened here in a very short amount of time.
It's not just that, it's also the treatment. If the Mars attack never happened, would the treatment of me still be the same? There have been numerous instances of crew members aboard other ships who have done atrocities to their crewmates. But yet they were able to be forgiven, and some of it just even forgotten. It is peculiar to see how everyone's reaction towards me is versus if I was organic.
I look at him. You know, your powers of observation are second to none. And you are right. Prejudiced, unfortunately, run deep. Even when you try to overcome it, even when people do things extraordinary that you think should defy it, they still run very deep.
There are even cultures out there and species that use manipulation of others to achieve their own goal. And he's going to look to Danik for a second, like the Orion females. They use their pheromones to, well, effectively brainwash individuals.
You're correct. It's an interesting universe that we live in. But I wanted to come down and see how you were. I hope you know me taking you off of duty was not me not liking you or because you were an android.
No, that is standard protocol when an officer is compromised. I'm more or less referring to how I am spoken about even when I'm in the same room.
Yes, and unfortunately, prejudice is a fickle thing. When you try to address it to squash it, it can sometimes become more prevalent and just become underground. Even though, you know, we want to have the best and see the best in everybody, some people it's rather hard to. Even me as a Bajoran, still every once in a while will look at a Cardassian and, well, not have a very Starfleet-esque thought about them and how they treated my people for so many years. That being said, I've met some very fantastic Cardassians and have no ills against them. Unfortunately, time is the only thing that can heal that wound.
I understand. Unfortunately for me, there are very few androids people have met that they seem to have liked. The numbers far exceeds the ones they do not, though. It will be interesting to see how things change. And I look forward to resuming my post when everyone feels it's time.
Indeed, I'm looking forward to getting you back on the duty roster. Although, I have to admit, I don't know that putting you in charge of the CIC right away is the right move.
Understandable.
We'll figure that out as we go. But for the time being, enjoy some time off. Do some inner exploration. I'm loving the new look, by the way.
Yes, I appreciate the attempt by Bruce to try and keep me more included, but I felt that it made it more difficult for me to fit in.
It's like you're hiding behind a veil. You can't be yourself.
Similar thinking, yes.
Understandable. Well, like I said, only time will heal the wounds of the Mars incident as well as the incident that occurred here on the Hope. But thing is it will heal. Might scar, but it will heal.
Thank you, sir.
Anytime. Now, I've got to go report to the Commodore about all the things that I did wrong on my first mission, and this one's going to be a doozy.
I would like to make one request if possible.
Fire away.
I understand, and it is protocol to have me under guard until I can be deemed no longer a threat. But Danik has been watching me for a long while, and I would prefer he get some rest. You could switch out another security guard to watch me for time.
I just look at Danik. Danik, you take your job too seriously. Go go call a relief officer and go take some time to yourself. 2 shifts off.
I don't need it, sir, but if that's your order, I'll get
That's my
McGinnis to fill
order.
in.
That's my order.
Yes, sir. I stand relieved. And he walks off.
It's one thing I will say about Orion. They do very much take their job very seriously.
They do indeed. I have been attempting to get him to tell me if he likes any personal songs, but he instead just aims his rifle at me when I open the door.
I'll have a talk with Lieutenant Commander TM about maybe relaxing him a little bit.
I do wish to say that I have no urge or inclination to hurt anyone. The actions that were committed were of that hostile program. I
Well,
tried everything to fight it.
I fully understand that, but it is kind of standard protocol. As time goes, there'll be less and less. Although it isn't just for your for the protection of others; it's also your protection. As you said, it's a rather large gash that the Mars incident created, and people have a lot of prejudice towards Android and like kinds. And especially after the incident, it would be fairly easy for somebody to use this time to attack you. Not that I don't think you can't defend yourself, but sometimes defending ourselves cause more of a incident than we need.
He thinks for a second, like, if I were to be attacked and the choice was to incapacitate the individual, or if there was no option to incapacitate, I would most likely let them terminate my existence.
Well, I don't want you to terminate your existence over somebody who is having an emotional outburst. Don't worry, Kenneth. We'll get through it.
Thank you, sir. And good luck with your report.
Thanks. I can only imagine how upset the Commodore is going to be with me.
He'll just give you a puzzled look for a second because he has no idea what happened.
I just look at him. Let's just say my first big mission in breaking the Prime Directive and circumnavigating, finding loopholes. I can just tell that I'm going to either be a thorn in the Commodore's side or the greatest thing that came since sliced bread. We'll see. I have a feeling it's going to be more of a thorn.
Understood, sir. Still, good luck.
Thank you. Good luck to you as well.
Thank you.
And I turned ahead to start making reports and contacting the Commodore.
And Tuzon, as you walk out, we do another one of those pans out the window of the lounge, and we see the Hope as she is gliding. But before we break for today, we have everyone's favorite time of the game. We get to roll some dice.
Yay.
And we have no momentum
Well,
and no determination.
I
We have
told
a 13th threat to use for ourselves.
I told Tuzon that for anyone that didn't use their determination, which might only be Sophanth, but you can trade in a determination for 2 momentum, which translates to 2 challenge dice if you'd like.
Oh, I didn't use my determination.
Okay, you can trade yours in for 2. It's 2 if you had the spirit of what's the spirit of discovery talent that humans get. It's 3 because it translates to 3 momentum. I give you guys 2 because that still keeps that talent worth something, because no one even has it. But if anyone ever wanted it, it would be better than just this exchange we're doing now.
Yeah, I'm gonna be taking my 2 for the 7th.
Cool. I've got 6, so I'm just going to divide it 3 ways, so 2 for each. So I'm going to roll 9 dice for Delta, if someone wants to roll the 3rd. And Monty, if you want to spend your 2 whenever, just let me know.
Yeah, I'll spend it for the 5th.
Okay. So
You
9.
want the 5th, or the 3rd has the least amount to roll. The 5th at least is rolling 3 to 4.
Oh man, the 3rd actually has a decent chance.
Mm-hmm.
Who's rolling for the 3rd?
I'll roll for the 3rd. And then if we screw up, it's my fault. So, whoops. Come on, work with me, computer. There we go. Of course.
Oh, darn.
Of course.
Good job, Spencer.
Just my luck. Just my luck.
That's amazing.
How?
That's just my luck. That's just what it is.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry about that. That sucks.
Well, we'll be
That's how the
heading to
cookie
3rd here
crumbles.
soon.
Well, I'm rolling 10 for Bravo.
And then we're rolling what, 8 for the
8.
7th?
Yeah, I got the 7th.
All right.
Oh,
Ooh, come on.
That's gonna be hard to beat. Nope.
Yeah.
Alright. And I got the 3rd.
The 5th is the last one, I believe. So it's
5th, sorry.
yeah. I'm rolling 6 for Gamma.
And 5 for
6
the
to
5th.
5.
There we go. So it seems more feasible. Ooh. Come on, Mom. Oh,
I don't swear often, but
I think it's become apparent now, because we've talked about it a lot this episode in particular, why the Klingons have such a strong advantage over you guys right now. We are at the point now with the roles being what they are, in that like Klingon forces might start slipping through these fleets and starting to show up in places where you might not normally expect them.